Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. We have a packed house tonight. Glad to see it. Is my mic on? I think it is. Can you guys hear me okay? Nope.
That unit's handheld units that connects all the audio.
Okay.
It had failed, so we've put a work order in 2 weeks ago, but we're waiting. It's a supplier issue. So
Welcome to COVID. How about the screens?
no, we can. The recording picks you up,
So we're going old school this week. All right.
people will be able to hear you. And then,
Circa 1822. Thank you guys for coming to Stanley County Board of Commissioners meeting tonight for the February 7th meeting. Based on some agenda items that we have, I would like to seek a motion to move item number 16 to number 2, and item number, existing item number 2 to what will become item number 5, if that's okay with everybody. Motion by Commissioner Lawhon. Can I get a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Eford. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. First on our agenda tonight, I do want to do public comments first because we've gotten in the habit of making that first. Before we get to that, Vice Chairman Allman, will you please do the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Let's pray. Father God, thank you for the freedoms that you've given us to be here, to assemble. God, we thank you for that. We thank you for everybody here. We thank you for the county staff, all the employees who work hard. God, we just we lift up this board to you tonight. Pray for each and every commissioner. Pray to make good decisions and that everything we do be pleasing to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Allman. We've got a few folks for public comments tonight. Is Dr. Dennis here yet? You are.
yes, he is.
Dr. Dennis, come on up.
Chairman Jordan, members of the board, I just want to first of all say thank you for hearing me tonight. I'm here on behalf of the Board of Education, the Stanley County Board of Education, and I would just like to first and foremost thank you for entertaining a resolution to support the Stanley County Schools resolution to move the start date of the calendar. I just think it's imperative, and we all think it's imperative to have this move for a bunch of reasons. We've really talked about this in the past, and I guess it was further exacerbated by the fact that the 29th, being the last day we can start, has really put a lot of constraints on any type of flexibility within the calendar we can have for any work days, exams, and things like that. So right now, our high school students have to take their first semester exams after being off for 2 weeks, which is not fair to them and obviously could negatively impact test scores. Also, this late start date is when we finish the first semester. Our high school students aren't able to align with the community college calendar, so say if they were to graduate early, they would miss the start date for the community college, therefore putting them further behind if they were pursuing post-secondary education. Obviously, COVID-19 isolation and protocol was forced a temporary closure of school. We just need additional flexibility. And again, we've been talking about this for a long time, but once we realized just how constrained our calendar was, we wanted to put our words into a resolution. And again, on behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to thank you for taking the opportunity to discuss a possible resolution to support us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Dennis. Your agenda item is going to come up as item 15. Are you going to hang around for a bit?
No, sir. I have to go to a basketball game. I appreciate it, though. It might be over.
Fair enough.
Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jason Phibbs.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm running out of ink today, so I got to read off my laptop. But first, my wife and I came, or my wife spoke at the last meeting, and then after the meeting, we found out about a budget addendum that was in reference to the local health department and some federal money going towards vaccination programs, et cetera. So I wanted to come tonight because there's an additional budget addendum tonight Before I get to that, I guess, first of all, I had a significant back and forth with Commissioner Jordan. I also got a response from Commissioner Shudo, so I thank you both for your responses, for the in-depth information and timely response. I definitely look forward to hearing from the rest of the commissioners. I'd love to know where you stand. Commissioner Jordan was very clear that he represented himself and not the board, so I'd love to know where you guys stand on this. But tonight, there's $100,000 in federal COVID funds that could be added based on the board's approval to the local health department. The purpose says in the documentation, this agreement addendum provides temporary funding for the local health department to support school nurse and/or other school health serving positions to provide services to students. People in those positions will serve as members of a school-based health team, collaborating with local school health programs to provide COVID-19 support and response in schools. Supporting positions may include supplementing the salaries of current positions to improve retention, recruiting, creating, and hiring of new student serving positions to fill gaps in the school-based health team, and/or contracting for positions to fill gaps in the school-based health team to provide and support other school health program activities that foster healthy students who are in school and ready to learn. Bottom line is, this is related to COVID-19 support. And I wanted to get to the sort of the stipulations that come along with this money. And these same sort of stipulations have come, I believe, with the other money that has come before it. It says, as the local health department is a subrecipient of a grant or cooperative agreement awarded by the Department of Health and Human Services, the local health department agrees as applicable to the award to the following. Number one, comply with existing and/or future directives and guidance from the Secretary, that's the Secretary of Health and Human Services for the federal government, regarding control of the spread of COVID-19. And this is perhaps the most concerning one. Assist the United States government in the implementation and enforcement of federal orders related to quarantine and isolation. Now, based on what you've seen around the world, especially in places like Australia, that ought to scare you. Part D, consistent with the full scope of applicable grant regulations, the purpose of this award and underlying funding, the subrecipient is expected to provide to CDC through NCDHHS copies of and/or access to COVID-19 data collected with these funds, including but not limited to data related to COVID-19 testing. So there goes your data. And this award is contingent upon agreement by the subrecipient to comply with existing and future guidance from the HHS Secretary regarding the control of the spread of COVID-19. In addition, the recipient is expected to flow down these terms to any subaward, et cetera. Bottom line is they're going to do whatever they're telling you to do now and in the future. The bottom line is that COVID-19 is no longer an emergency, especially in the school systems, as myself and many others have stated before. And while the county commissioners may not, at least in some opinion, may not be able to tell the health department what to do, you can limit their ability to do it. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Phibbs. Ms. Patty Crump?
Chairman Jordan, Commissioners, thank you for your time. I'm addressing you tonight regarding the $164,000 federal grant our local health department just received that this board unanimously approved in order to assist in funding the promotion and facilitation of the COVID-19 vaccine around the county, targeting the vaccine-hesitant population as well as parents of children under the age of 18. So what I gather is this money has two purposes. One, to entice those who are vaccine hesitant, and two, to market to parents to inoculate their children with strategies that include family-friendly events and school-based vaccination. With that said, I would like to read a definition of informed consent. Informed consent is the permission granted in the knowledge of the possible consequences, typically that which is given by a patient to a doctor for treatment with full knowledge of the possible risks and benefits. Now, I want to remind you that you made sure to include verbiage referencing informed consent when you voted in December on the resolution in support of individual freedom over personal vaccination status, and I thank you for that. And I quote from your own resolution that informed consent is the bedrock of ethical practice in medicine, consisting of three essential elements. 1, access to complete information, 2, patient comprehension, and 3, voluntariness. Last week, I sent you all an email with some links detailing the massive scale of vaccine injuries that are now becoming more evident. One of the links I sent was from the recently published Department of Defense DMED database. In our military alone, reports over a 10-month period show an increase in heart attack, neurological disorders, myocarditis, pulmonary embolism, immunoinsufficiencies, miscarriage, and blood blood clotting disorders anywhere from 250% to a whopping 1,000% increase. What I want to know is, will this type of information be available to the trusting parents standing in line with their children, just prior to agreeing to inoculate them with God knows what? And see, that's another thing. We don't even know what's inside these vials. Moderna's ingredients, packaging, and is a huge folded up piece of blank paper with the writing intentionally blank. Please fact check me and go to a pharmacy near you. As you may know, the FDA wasn't going to release the ingredients of these vials for 55 years after a FOIA request until just last week a federal judge in Texas ruled that Pfizer would have to release 55,000 pages of data per month for full disclosure to the public by September of this year, starting next month. So in closing, I ask two things. One, can you retract the funding? And two, are you going to require our health department to tell parents that while you may feel pressure to vaccinate your child for a virus that has a 99.997% survival rate, you need to know about the staggering statistics of vaccine injury and death? Can we usher parents to another room and give a short educational session, show some videos, put out some flyers, update our websites? If we are going to do our due diligence and make sure informed consent is truly given, we need to come up with the funding to tell the whole truth, because in this case, the truth is a matter of life, injury, or death of our present and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trump. Next up, we've got Mr. Levi Greene.
Evening, Commissioners. My name's Levi Greene. I want to start off by thanking you all for your time, your hard work, your open meetings, and your willingness to listen. Children rely on adults, both inside and outside of the home, to make decisions on their behalf, all while trusting those decisions are made in good faith. They're easy targets for power-hungry individuals and groups. Regarding COVID-19 and kids, we all know their risk is virtually non-existent. The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services COVID dashboard illustrates this with a 0% death rate for those under 17 years old, whereas 94% of COVID deaths have occurred in individuals in North Carolina over the age of 50. You would think a disease with such a stark demographic line would be well understood from a risk perspective by this point. So why is it that the only group with no risk bears the brunt of the tyrannical policies? Our state and local health departments are actively preying on our children's future by robbing them of in-person instruction. In fact, my 100% healthy 8th grade daughter, who is a straight A student and is sitting beside me in the back, was quarantined today for the second time this year. She's here. The health department and one of you has spoken about the numbers of deaths caused by COVID in our county. While I appreciate the concern for the well-being of the citizens of this great county, we have more to work on in other areas. In 2019, 743 residents of Stanley County died. 170 of them were due to heart disease. Another 146 died of cancer. Half of all deaths in this county were due to these two causes. The COVID death rate is less than either of these causes. Therefore, if the goal is to increase the life expectancy of Stanley County residents, the focus needs to be broadened. Here are some suggestions for the health department to implement immediately. Shut down fast food restaurants in Stanley County. Ban soft drinks. Ban tobacco. Ban alcoholic beverages. Implement mandatory strength and conditioning training for all citizens like they do in North Korea. Obviously, my last statements were in jest, but imagine for a minute if the health department were to attempt any of those suggestions. What would be the result? What would people say? Would the people comply? So why then is it so hard to understand that parents are fed up with quarantine of healthy kids in schools and the endless power grab of the health department? The same health department pushing these illogical policies provides needles to drug addicts, while fentanyl poisoning has become the leading cause of death in people ages 18 to 45. I would argue our health department does not have the citizens' best interests at heart. So what would I like for you to do as commissioners? Please pressure the Stanley County Health Department with the entire weight of your governing body to end the quarantine of healthy children in Stanley County schools. Call a special meeting between county commissioners, the health department director, and the school board with the goal of working together to remove these senseless policies. Reach out to other counties who have successfully stood against these policies. Or simply require that the health department end this discrimination and treat all citizens equally by demanding that individuals, retail stores, workplaces, and churches adhere to the same level of quarantine protocols as the school system. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
I just got a quick question, if you don't mind.
Commissioner Shudo?
Does heart disease and cancer, do they jump from one person to the other? Or do you believe that COVID jumps from one person to other?
One of the leading causes of cancer is a virus. So yes, it jumps from person to person.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Yeah, genital warts is the virus
then-
that causes genital warts is a virus, and it creates cancer.
And then just for a fact that I think it's the email that was referred to that I mentioned earlier, that since August the 4th, 109 Stanley County residents have passed away from COVID. Of those, 15 had been vaccinated and 94 had not been vaccinated. And I just want to give a shout out to the health department for doing everything they can to try to keep us safe. Thank you very much.
So there was no other question? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Green. I believe the next name is Mr. Kennedy. I think I've got that right. There we go. Tell you what, it was my eyesight or your handwriting?
Good evening, Commissioners. I am my name is Kennedy, and I'm a licensed contractor from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I just been hired by a building owner that their building is about to be torn down. And the old contractor didn't do the work. So I am here to plead that if the address, let me give you the address of the building. It's 20713 US 52 Highway South. That if we can be given an extension, okay? Yes, sir.
That comes up later in
I was
the
about to say,
agenda,
that is on tonight's agenda, yes, sir.
and I would ask this gentleman to come and speak at the appropriate time, and that's when you
Okay.
have your public.
I'd be fine, I would be fine with that. Submit, it's just Mr. Kennedy, not trying to shut you down at all.
No,
but
that's right.
That way your conversation stays relevant to the point that we're going to discuss, because
Yes,
that
sir.
is on tonight's agenda.
Yes, sir.
So
Thank you.
I will, if you're okay with that, I'll come back to you as soon as that agenda item comes up, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've got Andy Henson, and yours was on the subcommittee meeting. Is that on, that's not for tonight's agenda there, right?
Right.
Okay, come on up.
Good evening. I basically just wanted to ask maybe if you would take a few minutes and let everybody know about the subcommittee meeting at Oakboro tomorrow, because I really don't think a lot of people have heard about it. And I know a lot of people in the community would be concerned if they knew a lot of things we knew and we've been through in the past year. It's been a really tough year on my family. So if there's anybody who hears this on the radio and you have any concerns about cell towers being built near your home or any concerns about 5G, it's not just the people in the west end of Stanley that are invited to the meeting. It's anybody who has those concerns, because there are reasons to have them. So I just hope a lot of people show
I
up.
actually did make a Facebook video today to post about that, and it occurred to me I forgot to post it. So
All
I
right,
will
well,
bring it
I-
up tonight in comments, and I'll post that later.
I thought you probably would, but I just wanted to ask about it.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Last one, Ms. Pam Ring.
Thank you all very much, and thank you for letting me speak for a moment. First thing I would like to do is to commend you all as a board for the way that you have handled the crisis through COVID, through supporting individuals' choices regarding masks, mandates, quarantines. I've sat through several of these sessions where people have come before you with different scenarios, different statistics, different studies. And basically what you've always come back is it's on you. It's your choice. And I would like to say that at some point in time, we all have to take responsibility for our own choices. This is a very personal decision. I understand how parents would be concerned about their children. I am concerned about mine. However, it is my responsibility to do my own research, to view those own studies on my own and make that choice for myself and for my children. I do not have the right to come before you all as a county commissioner board and ask you to jump on my bandwagon and force my ways on other people. I think that you have two opposite ends of the spectrum going on here, and both are wrong. Both are wrong. It's something that everybody has to find a middle ground and decide personally for themselves. Again, it's the parent's decision. I think that in today's world, we're all being fed. A lot of media is coming at us from every different direction. Depending on what website you go to, you can pretty much pick and choose anything you want from any website out there that will actually rationalize and justify your particular point of view. We all have opinions, but broad decisions need to be based on your own personal feelings about you, your family, your choices. I would resent highly for somebody to tell me to take a shot that I didn't want to take, and I certainly would not tell somebody else to take a shot that they don't want to take. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Ms. Pam. Okay, I'm going to move on to item number 2 now on the agenda. Rearrange the agenda, bear with me. B.J. Hill proclamation. And that is going to be presented by Commissioner Bill Lawhon.
I'm gonna ask, those of you that's in the meeting tonight, I know, the parents of BJ are here and probably some other relatives and fans, to please stand up.
Give me a minute. Y'all need some bigger seats, huh?
And I know that the parents of BJ Hill are swelling with pride, and most of Stanley County, if not all of Stanley County, have become Cincinnati Bengal fans. And I want to read the proclamation declaring February the 13th, 2022, B.J. Hill Day. And if you don't realize, that is the day of the Super Bowl. Whereas the Stanley County Board of Commissioners, hereafter referred to as the board, celebrates former West Stanley High School football standout B.J. Hill, now playing in the National Football League for the Cincinnati Bengals as a defensive tackle. And whereas Hill had 4 tackles and a key interception, which I might say turned the game around.
Amen.
When the Bengals beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the American Football Conference Championship game on Sunday, January 30th, 2022. And whereas the Bengals play the Los Angeles Rams in Super Bowl 56, February 13th, 2022. And whereas the board is extremely proud of BJ and his representation of Stanley County, and hereby recognizes his hard work and accomplishments. And whereas the board wishes B.J. Hill and his teammates the best of luck as they compete in the Super Bowl. Now therefore, the Stanley County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim February 13, 2022 as B.J. Hill Day in Stanley County, North Carolina, and commend its observation to all citizens to recognize the extraordinary achievements of B.J. Hill. This will be adopted the 7th day of February 2022. And Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we adopt this resolution making February 13th, 2022 B.J. Hill Day.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawhon. Do we have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? You should leave now.
Thank you all for coming.
Very much. Mr. Yes?
I've known Bobby and Myra for a long time, and still have pictures in my wallet of their kids.
Amen.
Myra knows which picture I'm talking about, and I have a picture at home, but BJ was probably maybe 2 or 3 weeks old with me holding BJ. And I know they are proud, and just tell BJ one thing, that I want to see that Super Bowl ring again. Congratulations, guys.
I appreciate it, Scott.
Thank y'all very much. I wish every agenda item was that passionate, Commissioner Lawhon.
Those are the good times.
Yes, sir. Okay. Let me see. I've already moved it, so I'll keep it moved. Yep. The proclamation. Okay. Next on the agenda, proclamation for the National FBLA PBL Week. This is Victoria Iverson and Toby Neal. He's here now.
Good evening. I'm Allison Smith, an accounting major at Pfeiffer University, and I am PBL president of the Pfeiffer chapter. I am also executive vice president of North Carolina State PBL.
I'm Toby Neal. I'm working towards an Associate of Arts at Stanley Community College. I'm a member of the PBL chapter there, and I'm also the vice president of communications for NCPBL.
As state officers and local chapter leaders, we are pleased to be here this evening for the signing of this proclamation indicating Stanley County's awareness and participation in National FBLA and PBL Week.
Phi Beta Lambda is the college level of future business leaders of America. This proclamation lists the goals of our organization at the national, state, and local levels. In addition to preparing students to be successful in their careers, PBL provides opportunities necessary to build leaders in all areas of business and community life.
We appreciate your helping us celebrate the success of FBLA and PBL in the chapters of our colleges. Both schools have produced state and national winners in the state and national PBL competitive events, bringing attention to Stanley County.
We are preparing now for our annual State Leadership Conference this April in Charlotte, with state winners advancing to the national competition this summer. Both of us hope to be making that trip to Chicago.
Thank you again for allowing us to be here tonight and joining us in the salute to our colleges and their PBL chapters during National Phi Beta Lambda Week. Thank you.
Thank you guys for your presentation. I believe we need to request approval of that particular proclamation. And that proclamation. Motion by Vice Chairman Almond to approve the proclamation to make February 6th through 12th, 2022 as National FBLA PBL Week. We have a second? Second by Commissioner Barbie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Wonderful. Motion passes 7-0. Presentation of the John D. Coutial Service of Excellence Award. And that's going to be Dale Chandler. Come on down, Mr. Dale.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for your time. Quick backstory. In January of 1989, Stanley County took over the EMS services for the County of Stanley. And in that time, we had a lot of good employees. This award we're presenting tonight is the John D. Coutial Service Excellence Award. It is presented to an EMS provider every year that exemplifies care to the utmost of our profession, also providing for compassion and general overall well-being of the citizens of Stanley County. So the Coutial Award is named after Mr. Yao here standing beside me. He worked with Stanley County from 1989, working as an EMT all the way up to a paramedic, shift supervisor, and eventually to the EMS manager's role. Retired with 30 years of service. So far, he is the only employee to complete that task. So therefore, we couldn't think of a better person to name this award after. Tonight, we're here for the presentation of this award, and now that the cat's out of the bag, and he really knows why he's here, because if we told him why he was really coming, Mr. Greene wouldn't have come tonight. Randy Greene is an exemplary employee who recently retired from our agency. He spent over 2.5 decades working in the EMS profession. He was the true sign of what a paramedic should be. Always had a smile on his face, and he was an exemplary storyteller. Some stories can be told in this room, some stories probably shouldn't be, but overall, Randy was a pleasure to work with. Nobody ever had anything negative to say about him, and the citizens of Stanley County loved the care that he did provide. So tonight, I'm going to call Randy Greene up here for recognition for his exemplary service to the citizens of Stanley County as well as Cabarrus County throughout his career. And I'm going to let Mr. Yao present the award to Mr. Greene.
Congratulations on your retirement. Thank you, brother. This was an honor for me and a privilege for me to be able to present this to you.
I'll tell you what, this is certainly a surprise, and I appreciate it coming from you. I really do.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for the hard work.
Thank you guys for supporting the public safety.
Yeah, I'd like to say the same thing. I'd like to thank this Board of Commissioners for the support they give to Stanley County EMS. We've got a few back here in the back, really good people. And we do appreciate your support of our service. It's, of course, it's all money, we understand, but I appreciate what y'all have done for us. I apologize for being late. I was trying to get my CDLs because I got to keep working. But anyway, I appreciate everything. All you guys in the back, thanks for everything you've done. Thanks for your friendship, support. Tell the fire service guys, police, everybody that's worked with us over the years, I appreciate your service. Thank you.
All righty. I think we're about out of fun stuff, guys. We got to get back to work now. We need to drop those in occasionally between the dry things. The next item on our agenda is the Liberty Hill Pump Station replacement, upgrade and financing discussion. Mr. Toby Henson. Okay, we have a request by, can I get a motion to recuse Commissioner Lawhon? Motion by Commissioner Eford. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Furr. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Commissioner Lawhon, you are recused from this particular agenda item. Mr. Henson, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. On November 1st, you all approved the NJR group to construct the Liberty Hill Booster Pump Station replacement. And they provided the lowest bid in the amount of $1,412,050. The proposals have been received to provide financing for this project. We sent out proposals to 6 different financial institutions, and we received bids from 4 of them. The bids came from First Bank, Pinnacle Bank, Truist Bank, and URI Bank. And we requested that they send bids for 3 different terms of 12 years, 15 years, and 20 years. First Bank sent a bid for 12 years and Pinnacle Bank for 15 years. And then Truist and URI banks were the ones that sent the bids for the 3 different terms. As you can see, URI Bank provided the lowest rates. And they did send their bids 2 different ways. One was specified where their bid was structured as with a no prepayment penalty. And then down below that, which is at the bottom of your summary of the bids, they sent in bids structured with a prepayment fee, which is called a 54321, is what they call it, prepayment fee, which basically means if you pay it off within 5 years, there would be a prepayment fee or penalty associated with it. If it's after 5 years, then there would be no prepayment penalty with that. And another thing, URA Bank, they've got council fees that they've capped at $7,500. If you look at the total payments, the further right-hand column, if you add $7,500 to their bids, it still comes out far below what the other bids are, even with Truist with no legal fees. There's that much difference between the rates from the two. And again, if they're there, and that's their counsel fees, they would be getting outside legal counsel to prepare the bank documents. And they're capping what they would charge us for it. They're capping it off at $7,500. And that's just a quick summary of the bids that we received. We'll need to approve. We need your approval on 2 items: to choose the bid that you want to finance the project with, and approve the resolution to authorize the financing application with the appropriate bank bid information, including interest rate and the total cost of issuance. So at this time, I'll try to answer any questions that you may have.
I have a question for County Manager Lucas. Would you anticipate us paying this off within 5 years?
No, I think Dwayne's here too. I don't envision us paying it off within the 5 years. I think, if it was staff's recommendation, I believe we would want the 15-year term just for the greatest flexibility with debt service, just given the number of utility projects that we do have going on at this point, and the amount of growth that we're seeing. We're getting sort of a deluge of infrastructure projects, and so having the 15-year term gives us the greatest amount of flexibility in terms of a debt service payment on to plug into the operational budget. And so that would be our recommendation. If the board said no, we'd prefer a 12-year term. We certainly can try to. We'll make it work. It's just going to limit our flexibility with other projects that we know and you all know from discussions that we've had. Coming down the pipe from a water and sewer perspective. So. So that I hope that answers your question.
I just want to clarify. So if we went with URA Bank, and if we paid it off within 5 years, there'd be a penalty. But after 5 years, there's no penalty. Correct?
If you went with that,
with one of those,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1 plan. That's correct.
Okay.
Now, if you go with the ones above it, there wouldn't be a prepayment penalty at any time. And if you compare the 2 12-year terms, the one with the prepayment fee is like 30 basis points less for the 12 and the 15-year loans, and then I think it's 20 basis points less for the 20-year.
You guys are recommending the 3 15-year?
Right.
It gives us the greatest flexibility. I mean, obviously, we hope to be in a situation. A lot of this was precipitated by the significant economic development project in the western part of the county and the sale of water to that project. And so we anticipate that, the sale of that water will easily cover the debt service. And so we envision that we'll pay this off, certainly sooner rather than later, and sooner than 15 years, but I don't envision us paying it off within 5. And so the 15 just gives us that little bit of wiggle room in the operational budget of that debt service that we're going to have to book, so that other projects that we know are coming down the line, we can find a way to get those into the budget as well.
So if we go with the 15-year, the prepayment fee, which is down at the bottom.
At 1%.
1%.
Right.
Interest, that's correct.
With the annual payment of just under $102,000.
Any further discussion from the commissioners? What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation that we keep Rory Bank for 15 years. 54321 prepayment fee at 1%, which would be a total of 1.52936.58, please.
Motion on the floor by Commissioner Eford for URA Bank for 15 years, totaling $1,529,366.58.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shudo. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. There's an option here for second action. We have a motion to approve the resolution to authorize the financing application with the appropriate bank.
And that's also finance, it's also authorizing staff to start preparing the LGC application.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. What Toby said. Consider and approve the resolution to authorize the financial application with the appropriate bank, which is URI. Bid information including the interest rate, which is 1%. Total cost, 1.529366.58, and also to, that was it. Oh, I thought you had somebody, you said.
That's part of it.
Authorizing the resolution, just to approve it authorized.
We have a motion to approve the resolution by Commissioner Eford. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner, by Vice Chairman Almond. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Director Henson.
Appreciate it.
All right. Next item, Ms. Candace Louder. We have a public hearing tonight for the Economic Development Incentive Grant. Good seeing you, ma'am.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to come before you tonight on behalf of the Economic Development Commission to request support for an economic development incentive grant totaling 60% of taxes on new investment for 5 years for an existing company that is considering expanding their operation within our county. The company is a manufacturer and distributor of industrial parts and engineered systems. This project will create approximately 20 new jobs with salaries above the county average and will result in new taxable investments of at least $2.1 million in real property improvements and machinery and equipment over the next 5 years. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the project and appreciate your consideration of our request.
Thank you, Ms. Candace. Any questions from the commission?
I got one. Candy, what is the county's average salary?
We haven't got the new numbers for this year yet, but so working off last year, it was $35,500 per year. Mm-hmm.
With no further questions, this particular item requires a public hearing. Ms. Louder, if you'll stand by, I'm going to call this public hearing open. Is there anyone here that would like to speak for or against this item on the agenda? Mr. Phibbs?
I'm just going to provide some information for consideration. So in general, I'm opposed to economic incentives just because I think it puts government in the position of picking winners and losers, but I haven't seen a full analysis on this, so all I know is that they're going to get a 60% break on taxes for 5 years, $2 million investment, 20, I don't know what all that adds up to, and obviously there will be a cost to that because those are resources that could be diverted elsewhere. But just to share a few things, John Locke Foundation did a report in 2015. It said what they found, and this was an analysis of all 100 counties and the incentives that they had done over 2009 to 2014, It says 81 of North Carolina's 100 counties participate in economic development activities. Counties entered into 776 contracts worth nearly $284 million in incentives over the 5-year period. Actual payments, however, totaled $144 million, which means roughly half the time those investments or those promises don't come through. At the state level, we hear the argument that rural or poor counties need economic development more than wealthy counties, but after collecting and analyzing the data, we found no obvious relationship between the wealth or development level of counties and the amount they spent on economic development incentives. The other comment I'll share here, and this is from a report that John Locke did as well, it said, in reality, the most intellectually honest description of what we are referring to is, quote, state-based central planning, end quote. In other words, economic incentives are an attempt by politicians to direct resources that are not their own to investments that they believe will be better for the economy than those that would be chosen if the actual resource owners were left to their own judgments. Simply stated, they substitute the investment decisions of politicians and politically appointed bureaucrats for the investment decisions of unsubsidized market participants. I'm sure every business in Stanley County would love a 60% break on their taxes for 5 years and could do some good with that. Again, I don't know. I don't have the full facts on this, so I can't say it's a good or a bad thing. That's just something for you guys to consider. Thank you.
Appreciate your time, sir. Anybody else who would like to speak for or against? Hearing none, I will call this public hearing closed.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question for Candace, please.
Commissioner Furr, go ahead.
How does this work? Explain to me how they get this tax credit.
It's a competitive process. To be eligible for state grants, there needs to be more than one state under consideration for the project. Same for local tax-based grants. This particular project did receive a building reuse award from the state. It was seen as a very solid, competitive project with very good job creation. They've demonstrated the ability to grow and have been a good employer in our community since the 1970s.
But in reality, they pay all the tax up front, but then if they qualify for everything, they get the rebate back.
Well, in North Carolina, we don't allow for rebates per se, but we call it a tax-based grant because we scale the award based on the jobs that are created and the investments that are made. And yes, they have to make the investments. The following year, those investments are taxed per the tax assessor. So the building's built or the machinery and equipment is purchased. Taxes are paid on time. The jobs are verified to be created through the North Carolina Department of Commerce. And once all of those benchmarks are met, then the tax-based grant payments are made. If they are not made at 100%, there is a pro rata formula where the amount of the award is proportionately reduced and scaled to the actual investments or the actual number of jobs. So once the grants award, that's the sort of the middle of the process. We have a lot of work to do moving forward.
So they don't just automatically get it, just boom, right off the bat.
No.
They got to qualify, they got to prove themselves and show that they've done the 20 jobs plus invest money up front.
And they have to sustain those, so it's not just a matter of making them 1 year and then getting a cash payment for 5 years. They have to meet and sustain those investments for the period of the grant.
I'd like to ask one thing, too. This is on the new investment, this is not on the total business itself, right? This is the new investment.
Yes, sir. So it's above and beyond what's on the ground and taxed in the current tax year.
Ms. Wilder, every business in Stanley County would be eligible for these tax incentives if they create jobs and they do a taxable investment of over $1 million.
$1 million is usually where we start because we'd be incentivizing everyone. And the other key is the quality job creation. So by quality jobs, the annual salaries are at or above the county average. They provide a health insurance program at least 50% or more. So the cost to the employee is minimal for health insurance. Yes, that's up to the board, but that's the parameters. $1 million or more with high quality job creation.
I don't believe retail falls
Typically, so the average salary is average of all jobs created. So while some management jobs in retail would have salaries above that benchmark, by the time you average out all the salaries created by retail projects, they typically fall beneath the average for the county.
And you all know, when we discuss these projects, we use a Federal Reserve tool that looks at the, number of jobs that are created, number of new homes, estimated number of people who will be moving to Stanley County, so we can estimate the cost of services, and that is factored into our recommendations in terms of that percentage based on what those cost of services are going to be versus what the benefit and the grant and the taxes will be. And so you all are seeing that full economic analysis in developing a recommendation to these companies. So there's a lot of economic information that's put into this process.
And I'll just state, since we're all speaking up here, I'll just state, when I first took office, I was actually very much against economic incentive grants, much for the reasons that he said. I'm like, why are we just giving away money? That doesn't seem sensible. Once I saw the criteria you have to do to get it, and how we as a county have to compete with other people who want these businesses to go there, it starts to make more sense. You're not, and keep in mind, you can promise the world, but if they don't meet every criteria, they don't get it. So, if you're an outstanding business, you're going to invest significant infrastructure in our county, pay significant taxes, and you can meet all the criteria to help bring good paying jobs, you get a little bit of a break the first couple of years. I'm personally okay with that. Any further questions or comments from commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to see Commissioner Furr, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I'd like to make a motion to approve economic incentives for 60% of the taxes for 5 years, and a minimum of $2,015,000 a day for the 20 new jobs.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Furr. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Vice Chairman Almond. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Clinton Swearingen, we have a tax administration presentation. Boy, I'm glad I didn't let you go before Super Bowl guy.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'll try to make this as entertaining as I possibly can. That's a big job
tonight,
to do, but we were talking about taxes a little bit then, so I'll try to feed off of that. I know most people don't want to talk about taxes, but I just want everyone to realize how important the property tax is in Stanley County. I'm sure you all know, but the citizens watching tonight or listening may not know, property taxes make up almost 50% of Stanley County's budget. So if you say the property tax goes away, then we're doing away with half of the EMS workers. We're doing away with half of the utility lines, half of all county employees if the property tax disappears. So nobody likes to pay it, but it's very, very important for our county to stay in business. All the laws regarding property taxation in North Carolina can be found in this one book, the North Carolina Machinery Act. If you ever wake up at night and you can't go back to sleep, pick this up and start reading it, and I promise you, you will go to sleep. It's not very entertaining, but it is the laws regarding property taxation in North Carolina. So the tax office can be split into 3 areas: real property, personal property, and collections. Real property deals with real estate, homes, land, outbuildings, pools, etc. My staff works closely with the Mapping GIS office to monitor deeds and real estate sales to ensure that we have the current owner information so that we know what houses, buildings, commercial lots, land is selling for us when we do the next revaluation. Staff in real property is also measuring new construction and remodels to add to the tax base each year. And as Mr. Lawhon likes to point out, they have been busy because there are a ton of new houses in Stanley County. They're also working towards the next revaluation, which will take place in 2025. The goal of any revaluation is to create an equitable way to determine property value so all residents pay their fair share of taxes. Personal property, that's dealing with registered motor vehicles, trailers, boats, business equipment, non-registered motor vehicles, and dog tags. Staff are responsible for valuing registered motor vehicles each month when they come up for renewal, and that's usually between 4,000 and 5,000 vehicles each month. That staff values permanent tagged and multi-year trailers each year, along with boats and motors. And we also deal with business equipment, which is kind of what Candace was talking about. And business equipment is a huge portion of the personal property value in Stanley County. In 2021, $400 million in value was from business equipment. Our office issues 6,000 dog tags yearly. And the dog tags is not a revenue maker, it's a public safety aspect. In case the dog's picked up or it bites somebody, then they can call my office, they read the dog tag number, we know who the owner is and who to contact, either pick the dog up or get it checked out. So that's the main reason for dog tags being issued. Each year in January, we just finished January, if you have personal property or a business, my office is going to send you a personal property listing form or a business personal property listing form. The personal property listing form is always green, and the business is always in dark blue. This year we sent out a little over 9,000 personal property listing forms and almost 3,000 business personal property listing forms. So the question we get asked a lot is, how come I didn't get a personal property listing form? Well, if you listed something last year, we're going to send you a form for you to tell us you still have that, whatever that personal property item is, or if you don't have it, and to list your dog. It's your responsibility as a taxpayer per law to let my office know if you purchase something that needs to be listed as personal property. If you don't list it and then we find out about it, or you late list it, then there's a 10% penalty added onto the value of that per North Carolina statute. The collections office. It deals with all the intake of the funds for the county, but not only for the county, but for all 10 municipalities, 14 fire districts, and 1 special district in the city of Albemarle. Taxes are due each year on September 1st and then become delinquent on January 6th of the following year if they're not paid. And on average, we collect between 92 and 93% of those taxes by January 5th each year. So the question is, what about the other 7 to 8% that's not? Well, some of those citizens might need some coaxing in order to pay their taxes. And the collections office has all kinds of methods that's granted in the Machinery Act for us to collect those taxes. We can garnish wages. We can attach their bank account. We can claim their North Carolina income tax refund. We can claim their unclaimed revenue with the North Carolina Department of Revenue. And lastly, we can foreclose on the property to collect the taxes due. The most important thing you can do if you owe us taxes is to reach out to us, because my office wants to work with you. We want to get those taxes paid, be a special payment plan, whatever we can do to work with you to get it paid. The worst thing you can do is ignore us. If you ignore us, everything we mail you, if we call, everything we do, if you ignore us, then you're going to leave us no choice but to take negative action against you to collect the taxes that's due to Stanley County and all the other municipalities. You can pay that in the office. You can pay it online at stanleytax.com. There's all kinds of PayPal, credit card, debit card, e-check. All these options are available online for you to pay. And that website is www.stanleytax.com. And we even have a drop box at the back of the courthouse if you don't want to come inside. And a lot of people have used that since the COVID pandemic started. The last thing I want to talk to y'all about is the property tax relief program. I want to talk about this program because it is state based about whether or not you qualify for it. And it's the only property tax relief programs that's really available. And this brochure is something that my office has made. We have it in the office. It's on the website for you to look at and go over. But there's 3 types of property tax relief that you can get, and that's the elderly or disabled exclusion, the circuit breaker property tax deferment, or the disabled veteran exclusion. So I want to talk about the elderly or disabled exclusion first, because that's where the majority of our citizens fall into this category. This property excludes from property taxes the greater of $25,000 or 50% of the appraised value of a permanent residence owned and occupied by a qualifying owner. So if you qualify for this program and your property's valued at $100,000, then you're going to qualify for a 50% exemption on that. So $50,000 of it's going to go away. You're only going to pay tax on $50,000. Let's say your property's valued at $30,000. Well, half of that would be $15,000, but the law states it's 50% or $25,000, whichever is greater. So if your property's at $30,000 and you qualify, $25,000 of it's going to go away, and you're going to pay tax on $5,000. That sounds great, but you got to qualify for it. How do you qualify? Well, you've got to be a permanent resident of Stanley County. You've got to be at least 65 years old. And on January 1st, your income cannot exceed $31,900. So that $31,900 is for 2022 applications. And that number, it changes every year. The Department of Revenue sends me statements in September. So this September, I'll get what the number is going to be for 2023. You have from January 1st to June the 1st to apply for this. So there is a big window there. It gives you plenty of time to apply. If you're hearing this tonight, you still have plenty of time to apply for it for 2022. The big things there. What is income? Well, income is all monies received from every source other than gifts or inheritances received from a spouse, a lineal ancestor, or a lineal descendant. And for married applicants residing with their spouses, the income of both spouses must be included, whether or not the property is in both names. So for a lot of people in Stanley County, if you're married, it kind of knocks you out, because if you both have Social Security and one of you have a pension, you're likely over that 31.9 limit. So the majority of people in our county that are qualified are widows or widowers. Permanent residence, this is the other big one. You have to live in our county. Well, how do we verify that? We look at where you vote. Are you registered to vote in Stanley County? We look at your driver's license. You know, if your driver's license is in Murrell Inlet, South Carolina, I would venture to say you do not live in Stanley County, and therefore you could not qualify for this program, because that actually happens a lot. We have a lot of people live outside the county but own property, and they qualify under everything except the fact that they don't live here. These same criteria, if you're elderly and over 65, it's also if you're disabled. So totally and permanently disabled means a person with a physical or mental impairment that substantially precludes him or her from attaining gainful employment and appears reasonably certain to continue without substantial improvement throughout their life. No one in my office or myself is qualified to say if a person is disabled or not. So we require the form AV9A, which is filled out by a physician, that tells us, yes, this person is disabled. So without that NC AV9A form, we're not going to take their application. I'm not going to talk about circuit breaker, which is in the middle of your thing, because we have 0 people in this program in our county, because it is almost identical to the program that I just told you, except it's a deferment. The first one is an exemption. You're in this program, you don't pay taxes, you never have to pay those taxes back. It's gone. The circuit breaker is a lien on the property. So you get the discount, but when something happens to you, you're leaving that lien and the taxes for your inheritors to pay. And most people in this county don't want to do that, which makes sense. Lastly is the disabled veteran exclusion. And this program excludes the first $45,000 of the appraised value of a permanent residence owned and occupied by a North Carolina resident who is an honorably discharged disabled veteran or the unmarried surviving spouse of an honorably discharged disabled veteran. So if your property is valued at $100,000 and you qualify for this, we're going to take $45,000 off of it and exclude it, and you're only going to pay tax on the $55,000. The key here is you have to be 100% service-related disabled to get this. We get a lot of people that come in all the time applying, and they might be 70% or 80%, and I have to deny them, and there's nothing I can do about it. The law states 100%. Tina in my office administers these programs, and she works real closely with Bo Allman, who's the Veteran Service Officer. So if somebody's trying to qualify with this, we work with Bo so that he can get them to get the NCDVA 9 form filled out that they need in order to qualify. Because if somebody is deserving of one of these programs, we want to help them all that we can to get into it. The key there is the spouse can also qualify under the veteran side of it also. So those are the 3 programs. That's for property tax relief. If you qualify, I encourage you to call. That's just been a brief summary of the tax office, and I encourage citizens to contact me or a member of my staff anytime they have questions or need answers, and I promise you we'll do all that we can to help the taxpayer and lead them in the right direction if we're not the right spot. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that y'all might have, because I just threw a lot of information at you.
Thank you, Mr. Clinton.
Yep.
Any questions from commissioners?
How many property owners right now are on
I don't have the exact number for the number, but I can tell you that for 2021, there were $49 million in exclusions under the first program, and there was $7,500,000 in the disabled veterans. So at the current tax rate, that's about $350,000 of revenue that would be here if these people weren't in the program.
Quick question about how many employees do you guys have in your department?
So there's
Give or
15
take.
employees counting myself. There's 11 in the assessor's office, which is real property and personal property, and then 4 in the collector's office.
Smaller than I thought, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very proud of my staff. We get a lot done for the whole county and the municipalities for, in my opinion, not a whole lot of people.
Don't go far, because you're up next with your delinquent 2021 tax report. So you want to go ahead and cover that while you're here?
I will. I'll be glad to. So I'm here, according to GS 105-369A, the tax collector must report to the governing body the total amount of unpaid taxes for the current fiscal year that are liens on real property. And upon receipt of the report, the governing body must order the tax collector to advertise the tax liens. So as of January 26, which is when I ran the report in your packets, the total amount of unpaid county real property taxes for the current fiscal year 21-22 that are liens on real property amount to $1,877,825.49. Upon order by this board, the tax liens will be advertised in March of this year, and the stated amount will be reduced as the collections office continues to take payments and applies that to the delinquents. Delinquent notices were actually mailed Thursday of last week, and we've already had people calling today and people paying today, so that's good. And I've attached the report for your viewing. For your information, in 2019, the amount was $1,913,000, which was good. In 2020, last year, we were at $1,894,000, which was the first time we had ever been below 1.9 at this point in the year. And then, as the report states, this time we're at 1,877. So we're about $17,000 better than we were last year this time.
You're not getting a Super Bowl ring. But good job.
So I would request this board issue an order to advertise these tax liens during the month of March.
Thank you, Mr. Swearingen. Can I get a motion to request the Board of Commissioners issue an order? Thank you, Commissioner Lawhon. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Furr. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you,
Mr.
Board.
Swearingen. Next item on the agenda, Planning Board appointments. Bob Brinsberg.
I wish I could make this exciting. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Good to see you.
To make it exciting, just make it.
We'll keep it simple. The first part is 3 members for the planning board. The Stanley County Planning Board consists of 7 members appointed by this Board of Commissioners and staggered 3-year terms. Terms for 3 board members expire this month, and new appointments are needed. Those positions are currently held by Dr. John or Jay Ekman, Joel Malden, and Candace Brasington. Dr. Ekman has served 2 terms and is the current chair of the board. Mr. Malden has served 1 term, eligible for reappointment. Ms. Brasington has also served 1 term, but has decided not to submit a new application for reappointment. Both Mr. Malden and Dr. Ekman have submitted revised applications and are willing to serve an additional term if that's the will of this board. Both have been regular in attendance, have been thoughtful and thorough board members. It is helpful, as you could imagine, to have some consistency on the planning board. Of course, that's part of the reason for staggered terms, and folks with a variety of backgrounds and experiences. There are, with Ms. Brasington stepping down, there will be no females on the board, and according to my look at the applications, there were no female applications for this. But those were in your packet. I do ask that the appointments be effective March 1st. We have a meeting next Monday night, and the packets have already been sent to those members, so it would be kind of unfair to throw new folks into that so quickly. So we'd delay putting them on the board until our next meeting following this February meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Remsburg. Any discussion by commissioners? Hearing none, I'll seek a motion.
I don't know if we do one at a time or just,
It's up to you, Commissioner.
I'll make a motion that reappoint Jay Ekman. I've read this, Jay Ekman to the board.
John Okay. We have a motion to reappoint John Ekman for a term expiring in February 2025 to one of the seats. We have a second? Second by Commissioner Furr. Any discussion?
I've read this stuff, you know, in the minutes and stuff, and he's chaired that thing through some controversial stuff, and I think he does a good job.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Two more board seats to fill.
I make a motion we reappoint Joel Malden.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Shudo to appoint Joe Malden for the term expiring in February 2025. We have a second? Second by Commissioner Eford. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We have a nominee for the third seat.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we appoint Kevin Brickman.
And you, Mr. Commissioner Eford?
Just make a motion we appoint Kevin Brickman for the prior term of Candace Breslin.
All right. Bear with me here. I've got a procedural question. County Manager Lucas, do we keep nominations open or just vote on a case-by-case basis?
You could,
This is the last seat, so I don't want to.
you didn't do that previously, you just took a motion and you didn't take nominations for all, but I mean.
Well, we knew we had two that.
You can do that, you can take all the nominations and then.
Right.
We each get one vote for that, one of the, one person.
Commissioner Eford, can I ask you to recall your motion and make it a nomination?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have a nomination for the third seat for, what was the name?
Kevin Brickman.
Kevin Brickman. We also have a nomination from Commissioner Barbie.
Yes, Mr. Brian L. Johnson.
Brian Johnson. We have any further nominations for the third seat? Hearing none, I will close nominations. Do this by show of hands.
Discussion as to why or why not.
We can.
Anyone's got anything to say?
I'll open up for discussion from commissioners.
The only thing I would say is that it looks like Kevin Brickman's been on there before, I believe, and then he's this is the one board he has asked to be on, whereas the other gentleman has asked to be on other boards too. You know what I mean? So there's always a possibility to put him on other boards, and I don't know much, besides just reading this. So if anyone's got anything to say.
I don't personally know either gentleman to my knowledge, so I don't have a being either way.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going off the recommendation from the planning board. Again, I don't know either.
Okay. Okay, so can I get a, by show, please raise your right hand if you would like to vote for Kevin Brickman for the third seat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. And raise your right hand for Brian Johnson. 1, 2. Okay. Mr. Brickman has the seat.
Thank you, Board. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Director Grimsberg. Next item on the agenda, Bob Ramsberg again. This is for a liaison for Land Use Plan Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. We, as you know, as part of the budget process last year, you approved us moving forward with a new Stanley County Land Use Plan. That committee has met once and all virtual at this point, but we're working with the Central Carolina Regional Council to develop this plan. They're contracted with us to do this, and we kind of followed their guidelines and requests to come up with a good committee. And you can, in the memo that I sent to you, you can see the members listed. And some of them have been present tonight, including Candace Louder, David Jenkins, the health director, Travis Moorhead with Three Rivers Land Trust, Caitlin Stegall with the Cooperative Extension Service, Joseph Burleson, who is here tonight, developer and realtor, Dr. Dennis with the school system, Sandy Selby Mullis with the chamber, Kelly Hart, who lives over on River Road, a concerned community member, Amanda Kirby with Soil and Water Conservation Service, the director, David Underwood, who's a planning board member, and also, as you can imagine, accountant and farmer, and Pamela Sullivan, who's the senior services director. So that group has met, but we're using several folks also as advisory members, including Dwayne Wingo with the County Utilities Department. But we thought it would be a good idea to have one of the board members, Board of Commissioner members, to serve also as a liaison, that's really to the determination of the board. We have a good relationship with Mr. Efer, partly because of his connections with the planning department in the city of Locust. But that's, so that comes as a suggestion, but again, any one of you would be fine to serve in that capacity.
Anyone will be fine, but I'm just saying, Mr. Efer would be great.
Well, we are not picky. I will say that. I mean,
wow.
We really aren't. But you know, Scott knows his stuff. But I'm just. But again, all of you have had experience.
I'm not sure
that's a compliment. I'm sure Scott has enough committees to be on.
Nobody likes you tonight. We love him. He's okay. He's pretty smart. He worked in Locust, and they don't want to do it. We have a motion by Commissioner Lawhon to appoint Commissioner Eford to this board. Do we have a second? We have a second by Vice Chairman Almond. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, board.
Congratulations, Commissioner Eford. We can. I'm gonna call a 5-minute recess. Call this thing back to order. Thank y'all for the recess. Let me see, where we at? That one. Next item on the agenda, if I haven't skipped anything, is the Burleson Development Group. Presenter is gonna be Ms. Bailey.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for having me. The first item I've got before you tonight is ZA 22-01. Burleson Development Group has requested to rezone 12.58 acres on Nelson Mountain Road that is owned by Angie Rudisil. Currently it's RA, and he's requesting to rezone that to R20. This parcel and this This purpose of this rezoning is to allow the property to be developed with smaller lots. This proposed subdivision would have public water and individual septic systems. A new road is to be constructed to access up to 20 lots with an average size around 21,000 square feet. The R20 district does allow a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet with public water provided. However, most soils in Stanley County will not support a septic system and repair area on a lot that is less than 20,000 square feet. This property is located just outside the growth area along NC 73 in the Millingport community. Traffic on Nelson Mountain Road is local with about 90 vehicles per day according to the NCDOT traffic count in 2015. If any lots fail their soil evaluation, they will be combined with adjacent lots and the total number of lots will be reduced. The proposed street will meet all DOT requirements and allow for an extension into the adjoining property. This is located in the Millingport Fire and School District. Because this is very near an identified growth area in Stanley County in the land use plan and has water available, it can be considered consistent with the land use plan. No one spoke in opposition to this proposed rezoning at the planning board meeting. I did get a few phone calls, but they were just inquiring minds. They just wanted to know what the sign was for and what was happening. None of it was in opposition. The planning board meeting was held on January 10th of 2022. The board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezoning request to the Board of Commissioners because it is consistent with the Stanley County Land Use Plan and complies with the zoning ordinance. The board at that time also approved the preliminary plan for the subdivision, subject to the approval of the rezoning request that he has tonight. You should all have the proposed plan and maps with you tonight, so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions from Commissioner?
I'd like to ask one question. The zone that's out there now is for 30,000 square feet, right?
Correct.
3/4 of an acre, right at it.
Correct.
Okay. What would be the reasoning, other than just wanting to put a few more houses? Would the soil take that type of reduction in lot size? And would that be appropriate to change zoning laws as we move along? I'm just asking a question from my knowledge to know why we would want to go ahead and reduce the lot size to protect the property or dissolve the area around it.
Right. He requested it, obviously, like you said, to reduce the lot sizes, to add more lots. The way that the parcel's laid out, it has the larger lot on one side of the street and the smaller lot, or the smaller portion of the lot on the opposite side of the street. The main reason for that would be to reduce or increase the number of lots allowed and also reduce the setbacks. It does that as well. I don't believe Mr. Ezell has been out there yet, from my knowledge. Nobody in environmental health has been out there quite yet, but Mr. Burleson can speak on that further also.
And we do have a public hearing on that. If you,
Bailey, I do have a couple of questions. There's gonna be county water there.
Mm-hmm.
How far is the existing water line from that property now?
To my knowledge, it's right.
1,500 square feet.
Yeah.
Is there sewer in that area also?
I don't believe.
Same distance.
So there's water out there 1,500 feet away. They're gonna tap into, but why would they not tap into the sewer? Because the lot size could be even lower if there was sewer.
Right. Yeah. Well, that would, if that was something that you were interested in asking Mr. Burleson, he's. Okay. As far as requesting him to do that, if that was a request from you to him, you could, but it would have, as far as making it a condition to the property and to that parcel and the plan, it would have to go back before the planning board to hold any standing. But. Why don't you speak to that?
There are no further questions, just from Ms. Bailey. I want to open the public hearing and let Joe Burleson speak first, if that's okay. Is that fine, Commissioner? All right. I'll declare the public hearing open, and Mr. Burleson, I assume you're here to speak for?
Yes, sir.
What was yours, sir?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, appreciate your time this evening, appreciate all you do. I am Joe Burleson. I'm here to speak in favor of this development. As you see, we do have 20 lots laid out on the property. The water line, I think there was a question about the water line. The water line goes directly by the property. It is on the, what I would call the Albemarle side of the road, where the smaller parcel is at. We will have to bore under the road to bring it on our side, so it is just across the road from the larger parcel. And it does go right by the two proposed lots, the smaller side. Sewer is out on Highway 73. There's a pump station that is, I would say, toward Concord, so there's not a way to get behind that pump station to make it work. Also, as far as easements, I don't know how we would acquire an easement to get a sewer line down there. We would have to go through private property or ask you all to condemn private property in order to put it in. So the path of least resistance was to go with septic systems on the property. And I met with David Ezell, the environmental health director, looked at the property. Based on the soil maps, it is a Georgeville soil, which is one of the best soils for septic systems in the county. We have very limited amount of Georgeville soil in this county, very limited amount. But this entire 12.5 acre tract appears to be Georgeville soil based on the map. As Bailey stated, if you all approve this, and we did get out there and went to do a soil evaluation, if it did not pass, your county employee, environmental health director would have to sign off on this. If it did not pass, we would combine the lot with an adjoining lot. But I feel very confident about the soil in that area. Once you go around the loop on Nelson Mountain, up at the old golf course, it does get to be very rocky soil. It changes very quickly, and Mr. Ezell noted that, and we discussed that in detail. This plan did go through the technical review committee for the county. Obviously, Bob sent that first. Before it went to the planning and zoning meeting, Mr. Ezell had opportunity to provide comments there, so obviously we don't have any negative comments from them thus far. So that kind of answers a few of your questions, I think, that were coming up as far as soil and water, sewer. You know, I will say the great news I've heard tonight, talking about jobs, and you all improved an economic incentive grant for 20+ jobs. We've got 20+ lots, or 20 lots here to provide. We need housing. We need housing bad in this county. You all know we are very aggressive on our economic development. We have folks moving here all the time. We have folks trying to raise families here. So just like the car dealerships that you drive by, there are no cars for sale. We're in the real estate market. There are no homes for sale. The ones that are for sale, they're expensive.
Technical question. So if the, let's say you've got two lots, one's not suitable, that mean you'll make one lot 42,000 square feet? Or will you just potentially split it amongst two thirties? I mean, it's up to interpretation depending on the conditions you find for each one?
Yep, I think at that point, I think Bob has some flexibility to administratively approve certain things, but if it became a real issue, we would have to bring it back before the Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay.
But more than likely, if we found one lot that didn't work, we'd probably split it at some point and give half of the lot to a neighboring lot.
So two larger lots or something?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question from Mr. Burleson.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
The cul-de-sac,
Yes, sir.
these copies that we have are so small, I have to have a magnifying glass. Is it wide enough for a fire truck to go in there and turn around?
Yes, we built the cul-de-sac. It is to the International Fire Code standard, and so that radius would be, I believe it is 48 feet, 96 feet all the way across. The fire marshal has reviewed the plans, and I don't, to my knowledge, did not have any negative feedback on that. So, and to answer your question, a ladder truck can make that full turn without putting the truck in reverse.
Go ahead,
And
Commissioner.
Joseph, I'm sorry, I meant to call Bob today and ask him to blow this map up. About midway in the proposed, yeah, we got a proposed public road there. What's that bump out?
That is for
Thank you. Okay, actually, mailbox kiosk.
That is a mailbox kiosk, and DOT, Mark Morgan with DOT has reviewed the plans, and we plan to build that to DOT standards and turn that road over to NCDOT, so.
So you got a 45-foot right-of-way. Looks like, what's your pavement?
I believe it is 11-foot lanes, it may be 12-foot lanes.
And you don't allow on-street parking, does that look like?
Correct. We do plan to put curb and gutter and sidewalks.
Okay. Are y'all put curb and sidewalk?
Curb and gutter and sidewalks on, yes.
Make my road fancy.
We expect the average home price to start around $400,000.
Any further questions for Mr. Burleson?
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Holmes.
Judge, we've had some spirited discussions about developments. And, I just want to ask you, like, what's the difference between this and something you might see, like the development on Anderson Church Road?
Well, these are much larger lots. The development I think that you're referring to on Anderson Grove Church Road, one's been there 15, 20 years maybe. Those lots are approximately 9,000 to 10,000 square feet. These lots are 21,000 plus. All of the lots that I'm proposing are over half an acre lot. So I know some of you live on similar size lots. And so it's much difference between the lot size. I mean, that development, for instance, you've got side ditches and ditch pipe. Here we've got curb and gutter, sidewalk. I believe that development only has sidewalks on one side of the street. We're proposing sidewalks on both sides of the street. I would put a homeowners association in to help police and maintain those things that were not accepted by DOT. So.
You say you're going to have an HOA there?
I would put a HOA in to help police that and make sure that we maintain the aesthetics of the development.
Any further questions for Mr. Burleson? Thank you, Mr. Burleson.
I do have one, I think. Looks like there's a building or lot or something on the left-hand edge of the property. Is there gonna be a buffer between your property and,
Hey, tell me where you're at again.
on this, page 40, you got?
He's looking at the colored map, not your print.
Right there. This area right here.
I'm not sure, Bob can answer, I'm not sure if there's a required buffer, but if someone wanted that, I'd be happy to put in a natural screen, some sort of greenery, evergreen buffer.
Since the properties adjoining are also residential,
No need for one, right.
I'd ask
On the bottom of that map, there's something in between those properties line. Is that a setback on the map that was bottom where
Yes, that is the proposed 35 rear yard setback. There is.
You got 35 feet from that property line to,
The limit of where we could build an accessory building or anything like that. And obviously, we're proposing to put the homes at the setback line on the street. So they're going to be built closer to the street, so very deep backyard. So that, Yes. Front setback's 40 feet,
How many bedroom homes are you talking?
3 to 4 bedrooms.
I mean, that, because I have a 4-bedroom on that road, not far from it. That backyard, I mean, that's gonna be septic field and repair field. And
Yes.
that's about the limit of what you can do. You can't put a barn up, that kind of thing, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And certainly with our restrictive covenants and our HOA, if there was enough room, someone had their septic system situated to where there was enough room to put in a building or a swimming pool or something of that nature, our HOA and restrictive covenants will police what that can be. There'll be an architectural review committee. And of course, if anyone decided to do that, they would have to meet any zoning requirements as well. But, whatever buildings potentially were built in the future would have to be of like kind material to the homes.
Okay.
I know you said the lots are proposed 20,000, 21,000 square feet. What is the smallest lot?
The smallest 2 lots are 20,102 feet, but most of them are 22,000 to 20. Everything on the right-hand side of the proposed road is over 26,000 feet. They range in size on the left-hand side of the road from 23.9 to 26,000.
And I know David said that the water line and the sewer line are basically 1,400 feet from that.
The water line is directly in front of the property.
How many feet, Bob?
I think we were mistaken in that the water line does apparently run down Nelson Mountain Road.
I have a hydrant on the property.
Sewer line is out on 73.
And is the sewer line accessible if he decided to do sewer lots rather than septic lots? Is that sewer line accessible for that purpose? Because the county spends a lot of money putting in sewer lines.
Right. And it would be nice to have additional customers, but I'm going to have to go off Mr. Burleson at this point because I do not have the answer to that in that obviously sewer's got to flow downhill.
I can tell you that everybody that lives on Nelson Mountain Road would love to have sewer, and not a single soul's got it, because I live there. There's no sewer anywhere on that road.
Sewer's on 73, so
Right.
you have to.
But I'm the closest house that you can get to on 73. There's not but one house closer than me to the road, and nobody's got, we're all septic.
Right. I know Mr. Burleson indicated to get to it, to the pump station, you would have to have an easement basically. Probably, I guess, I'm assuming, flow to get gravity. And I don't know, I have not talked to Mr. Wingo about whether, a force system using grinder pumps or anything like that would be acceptable.
If it were accessible, how small could the lots be?
15,000 square feet if you rezone it.
And you could get
Go up to about,
quite a few more lots.
yeah, probably 25 to 26 lots, 28 lots, somewhere in there.
Any further?
I guess my comment would be, if you rezone this, would want to stick with this plan. I don't necessarily want to go any more dense than this. If sewer was directly available on the street, I think I would still, this is the type of homes that we want to build. I don't know if that helps in your thought process.
The lots, if they were 30,000 square feet, how many could you get in there?
15,
15 versus
20.
20, so you get 5 extra lots.
Yeah, and honestly, the 5 extra lots, that helps pay to build that road that we're putting in, extend that water line. It helps pay for the infrastructure that we've got to put in place. It's a economics thing.
Now, land use plan, Bob, is it not called rural agriculture, 30,000 square feet for septic system?
I don't think it gets that specific. However, obviously it encourages the preservation of open space and farmland and where it's not in a growth area or not in a, in an area that has, and I'll go back, a growth area generally is going to have water and or sewer, not necessarily both, but that's kind of the definition that gets spelled out in the 2010 land use plan.
And this is a Bailey or Bob question. Bailey, when you were speaking, you said rezone it back. Was that just a misspeak, or did this used to be R20?
No, that was a mistake. I did say that.
Okay.
I think what she was referencing is if you wanted to put conditions on this, right, this would have to go back to the planning board to go back through a whole
Maybe so.
process.
Okay.
Right.
I just wanted to clarify what I'd heard. Any further questions for Mr. Burleson? Thank you, Mr. Joseph.
Yeah, thank y'all for your time.
Anyone else that would like to speak for or against this development?
Yes. Against.
I didn't see you, but come on up, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Donald Britt, B-R-I-T-T. I live about 2,000 feet north of the proposed site on Nelson Mountain Road.
Okay.
I moved out there to get pretty much away from things. I didn't come to the last one because I figured there's nothing I could do or nothing I could say to change anything. Then I found out they were going to add things, and I just want to make my voice opposed to it.
Okay.
I guess it's for selfish reasons, but I couldn't say nothing.
I understand that. I know how you feel. I live on that same road, and I share that personal feeling of I like my country view.
Yes, I like it.
I understand that.
I moved out there to get away from things, and then all of a sudden, then why don't they build condominiums out there? Then they could get a lot of people there. And I don't like I'm just thinking ahead. I don't like the idea of that much traffic in that area too. So I know it won't make any difference, but I just had to say something. And I thank you for listening to me.
Yes, sir. Anyone else to speak for or against? Come on up, ma'am.
My name is Darlene Burleson. I'm George Burleson's wife, and we own the land that joins it. We're not against the development, but we don't want that many houses. We don't like the traffic. We have more than 9 cars going up and down that road anytime, any given day. I used to own the golf course. I sold part of the golf course, but I still own the other half of the golf course. But we farm it. What are these people in this residential area going to be thinking about the farming right there at them? The chemicals we spray and the smell. What are they? I mean, Tommy.
That was a new thing when I moved to that part of the county.
I mean,
I know exactly what you mean.
And we're going to have cows across the road and everything. I mean, things like that. What are these people going to say? And about the sewer, yeah, it's about 1,584 feet from there, maybe a little bit more, 3/10 of a mile from that point. So, I mean, we're not want maybe the trouble that it might bring, because it is a, tight-knit community, and it's relatively quiet, and so that's the only thing we have against it.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your time, Ms. Burleson. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against? Come on up, sir. Give us your name if you don't mind.
Alton Burleson.
The Alton?
Yeah, Alton Burleson. I'm on the other side where those little buildings you saw on your map. We've lived there my whole life, more or less. It's all farmland. I hate I missed the other, something slipped by and I missed the first appointment. But about this sewer, he's going to have to pump it uphill the creek that runs across it. You have to get to 73. It floods all the time. And the backyard on where some of them's laid out, we can go out there now, and on my part, you're ankle deep in water the morning it's rained. So I don't think a septic tank would work. But like I said, it's the water line is in front, but no sewer. And I lived in the house down the road when I first got married, built a house, and they made me put my septic tank in my front yard because the water ran off too quick because it's rock, shale rock. And back then they was wanting to put a pump station, but I ended up putting it in the front yard, you know, got it to pass. But I don't think shouldn't perk on the back because it's underwater, you know. I can't walk through my yard and I'm on the top part. So it's just, and that many houses. I think it was zone farm, you know, agriculture. If he wants to bring a tractor, be fine, you know, farm. But houses, 2 or 3 houses would be about it.
Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak for or against?
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity of speaking to you tonight. I've lived on Nelson Mountain over 60 years. I got pictures in my phone of the rain and the water problem that's on that road. And the only thing in 60 years that's ever been done to that road is the state put tar and gravel on it. The ditches has not been drained. I got pictures showing water covering the road right there in front of this project. I've called the state, I've called Wayne Sasser, and there's nothing been done. And the whole time I lived there, the lines got painted on the road and they look like a black snake. That's how crooked they are. Because the cotton picking road's so rocky. I mean, this is it's not level. It shake your car. I drive in the middle of the road when I come out there to keep from shaking my car so bad. We have water problems. If you'll go out there and look at the property, that's what you ought to do. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just asking you to do it. If you go out there, that property is on a hill. On the north side of the property, there's a ditch comes across there. Water comes through there. It'll run up in the road because sometimes it gets banked up in the ditch. On the side Alton lives on, there's a flood zone there. And they always come, when they come, you get a permit or something, they always ask you, how about the water problem? Even at our church, they won't let us build anything else down there because there's a valley there, and they said it's a water problem, and we can't do that. And that, you need to look at this thing. You know, I'm not against them building a house out there, but I don't want 35 or 40 houses out there. I mean, that's just insane. And I think we ought to reconsider this thing and take it into consideration of everybody. Like Darlene said, we're a tight-knit community, and I'd like to keep it that way. And I'm not asking anything irresponsible. I think we ought to just consider this thing, send it back and let them reconsider it and look at it, let everybody come out there and look at the situation. Because they need something, whether the houses goes in there or not, we still need something done to Nelson Mountain. I mean, the roads is absolutely, I mean, it's just about impossible to drive in a smooth spot on that place. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. We got time for one more. If there's anybody else that would like to speak for or against.
I'm for. Charles Michael Lane. I am from the Millenport community, and the amount of houses does not really bother me, but I think I'm where Mr. Burleson's at. There's people who need houses. I got co-workers, friends looking for places to rent, buy. There's nothing around, and I think it'll help the community. It'll bring people in, help the fire department, and I think it's something that we should really consider. We need some more places for people to go out there. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Mr. Charles. He lives in Millenport. Anyone else want to speak for or against?
My name's Brandon Smith. I also live in the Millenport community. I understand what you're talking about with wanting, the peace and the quiet and everything. I actually grew up in the Indy community on Highway 2427. It was a 2-lane road. They come through, they 4-laned it. I hated it because of all the noise, but then it was so nice to get out and just drive, and not have to worry about getting behind a slow driver, this, that, whatever. Also, the housing market in this county, we need houses. I feel like, Burleson, you say 20 houses? That's really not a large number of houses. If it's going to be, large lots, nice houses, you're not going to attract bad neighbors per se. I also work for a company in Charlotte that is moving to Oakboro here in the next year. There's going to be a lot of guys and families coming into this county, moving with their jobs that live elsewhere. That's going to need homes, nice homes to live in, good family people. I know that, bulldozers, loaders, that right there, that can change the lay of the land, that can take care of flooding problems, what have you. I just want to see the growth of this county as a younger man of the county, I want to see more people come in and want to get the, per se, country life, but not live out on, 100 acres by themselves. So that'll be all I have to say.
If you know anybody's got 100 acres by themselves, I'm looking. I can't afford it, but I want it. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against this development this evening? Seeing none, I'm going to close this public hearing. Commissioners. Commissioner Eford, go ahead first.
Bob, was a TIA done?
It does not require one because of the small number of houses involved.
What is a TIA?
Thank you for
Traffic impact
asking.
analysis.
Last traffic, the last one done was 2015, right? And that was 90 cars a day?
Yeah, yes, and I don't know if the date, was the date 2015? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And I can vouch for whoever said that. That ain't right. I go up there 10 times a day. But, Commissioner Furr, go ahead, sir.
This is for Bob also. I'm assuming that, and I know this might not be the correct term, but the old perk test. This property is perfectly good for the perk. The one gentleman, Mr. Burleson there, was talking about, he didn't think that it would perk or couldn't support it, but this is done being verified, correct?
no, it has not been verified.
No.
Mr. Ezell wanted to wait until this process was done. He's got so much, the Environmental Health Department, as you can imagine, has been very busy recently, and he's like, until we figure out where the lots may be, I'm not going to step foot on the property and try to figure this out. So once he knows how many lots and they get marked off, then Mr. Burleson, I think, has already paid potentially or being prepared to pay for that process, but it hasn't.
But you turn back around the same thing. He's not going to make the lots no smaller than they are now.
Right, he can't.
If anything, it's going to go bigger. He's going to divide them in half to split or combine two to make one, if need be.
Yes, that's what he has shared. And just kind of procedurally, I have a little bit of latitude if someone, as you remember, the planning board has approved his plan, the one that's so small you can barely see it on your paper there. That's been approved contingent on this happening. If for some reason he wants to do something different, say reduce those lot sizes or something, that's going to have to come back before the planning board.
Right.
Because, so he,
So
he could reduce the intensity of the development or reduce the density, and I would approve that administratively. But if you wanted to increase it, that's going to have to go back before the board, the planning board.
Mr. Chairman, rural agriculture, residential, I don't know, I guess it stands for rural agriculture, cost of 30,000 square feet for lots for septic systems. This is 30,000 square feet, probably 3/4 of an acre. Mr. Burleson said he would not be able to put 20 houses, but he did put 15. And I know the money that the county spends on sewer lines that we put in, Lord knows, I wish the sewer line was 1,500 feet close to my house. I'd jump all over it.
Me too.
I would like to make a motion to send it back to planning and zoning board to look into that matter, plus there's other matters like bracket count. So that's my motion.
We have a motion to send it back to planning and zoning.
To look into the sewer.
Yeah, so effectively a motion to table. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Barbie. Any discussion?
I'm just ready to move forward with this project because I think one of the things that tells me is that you're going to build 20 homes, correct? But it might be less homes based on some issues there, so I'm fine with it.
The total amount of homes he's got proposed now is 20, correct?
And that's the maximum, and he might do less.
Could be less.
Right.
May I add 2 thoughts?
Give me 1 second, Mr. Burson. Commissioner Eford, you had a question?
I just had a question for either Bob or Bailey. On RA, what else is allowed on RA as far as housing?
Housing. So single-family residences, but of course that could be, stick-built homes, could be modular homes, or it could be manufactured homes.
Okay.
So they would all be allowed on that property.
All right, that's all. Thank you.
Let me make a comment, Mr. Burson, first, and then I'll let you speak. I've stayed quiet on this one. I live there. I don't feel a need to recuse myself. I'm on the opposite end of that road and won't be affected by this either way, but I'd just share my thoughts. I too moved there because I love the country view and I'd love to own land on both sides of me. If I could, I'd put horse pasture up in the barn, and I'd have a small Yellowstone right in, off 73. But I know change is inevitable. I know growth is inevitable, and I think based on what I've seen here from this presentation, if I was going to pick the houses that could be there, these sound like what I would want. They are a higher dollar home. They are, and while I agree that 20 homes may sound ambitious, I've got a feeling that he's got to break even point. You've got some point if, hey, if you get this approved and we can only do 11 homes, we ain't doing it. If we can do 18, we'll think about it. But if we get in 13, 14, it's not worth it. I mean, do I have that right?
Pretty close.
So there's a next step he has to go through here to get this land tested. Can I get septic tanks in here? Is it going to work? I'm not personally against him doing that. It was my land. That's what I'd love to have a home like that. It's a nice sounding home. I don't personally want sidewalks and gutters. I like ditch banks and hayfields, but that's just me. You had a comment, sir?
The 2 thoughts, traffic count was mentioned. NCDOT does not require a traffic count or traffic analysis on a property until, or any, I guess, improvements until you reach 4,000 average daily trips. So I think I heard the number of 90. I don't personally know exactly what that number is, but I heard 90 somewhere else. So
That was in our notes from planning and zoning with the
Yeah,
last
so
traffic count was 2015. It was 9 cars a day. I don't think that should have any bearing on you. That's just a complaint we all have that live on that road. We all love to see it get better.
And probably if there's some homes built on there and a little more traffic, NCDOT will probably get out there. Just a thought.
We have a motion and a second to table. Is there any further discussion on that item? Can't make a motion, but I've got a motion on the table.
Clarification. That's clarification, because it's not to table it, it's
Oh,
to kick it back to the planning department.
To either research the possibility of tacking on the sewer. Or, it concerns me, we're approving lots less than what our land use plan laid out. It concerns me that it's not perfect yet. And I know he's busy, but hey, if I were on the planning and zoning board, I would have wanted to see the perk test before I submitted it. I mean, I'm like this, 30,000 square feet with septic tank. When we're reducing sizes of lots, all we're gonna do is ask for trouble in the future. Because 30,000 square feet lots, what needs to be done? If there's sewer available, we need to kick it back and see what the possibilities are. If they don't wanna require sewer, then we need to know, are those lots gonna perk? How many are gonna perk? And if Mr. Burleson's already paid for that, he should want that.
Well, I can understand that. There is no sewer on a home on that road. There's none. And this development is almost half the way back up that mountain. So, I mean, there is never going to be sewer there. That I have asked as a taxpayer, him and a couple other people, because I really love to have sewer, and it's going to cost me a fortune because I have to pay for the pipe all the way from my house to the road, and just to cross the lot I got to cross is about $12,000, and I live as close to Clifford as you can get it. So I'd love to see that discussion happen, but
Know if those lots perk or not.
sure, yeah, I'll agree with that, but I think if he's willing to take that on, either he's going to find out that it won't.
If he does it after the fact, we're just spinning our wheels up here, folks.
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Go ahead.
I don't know if this is for Bob or for Joseph, but when I asked a question earlier about an HOA, and the reason I'm asking that is because, you know, these houses, they're gonna look fine now, but what I'm concerned about is 20 years from now, and the clientele that'll be there now will be fine and good, but what kind of upkeep, what kind of standard will we have 20 years from now at this development? And I was wondering if that's in the current plan, or if that's something that would be addressed back at the planning board.
The HOA that we put in place and the restrictive covenants that we put in place will be at a minimum fiber cement, brick, hardy board stone siding. There will be no vinyl siding except maybe on the soffit, you know, underneath the overhang. So the outside aesthetics I think will be pleasing, but we'll have an HOA in place that will require people to maintain that, whether it need to be, you know, if it's fiber cement and it needs to be painted or something, the HOA will force them to do that, or if they need to be pressure washed, or no, you know, junk cars parked in the front yard, or boats or trailers or construction equipment there, somebody running a business, they won't be able to do that.
I think we've had enough discussion. Let's take a vote on the motion to table and send it back to planning board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2. Any opposed, nay? Nay. To confirm for me, the ayes were Commissioner Lawhon. Is that you, Lane? Commissioner Barbie. Okay, so 2, 4, 5 against. Motion fails. Not going to table it. Trying to remember my Robert's rules here. Now I'm open to a motion to approve or deny.
I make a motion, we approve the request.
Use that language, it's on the
And
last
this,
page.
yes.
Mine was different. I had 2 for the ZA 2204, but I have one for the ZA 2201. Unless I did this one.
Oh, you're right. See what you mean now.
Okay, I do have one more question before we get to.
Okay, here we go.
I think we can. He's in the middle of a motion. The floor is still his at this moment.
page of that agenda item, Peter.
We don't have one for 04, we got one for, we got two for 04, we don't have one for 01.
What he's saying is the page in the back of this is the wrong one.
Yeah, because it should be at the end before the other
Manager
one.
Lucas, would a motion to approve be sufficient? You need special language?
Ideally, you would include a statement, something to the effect of, we find, why this is consistent with the land use plan. Because it's adjacent, it's kind of the language I think we use in our report. It's near the, if motion to approve would be, it's near the growth area, designated growth area in the land use plan, and water will be provided to that. So it justifies.
See if I can simplify this. Commissioner Shudo, you make the motion to approve based on what he just said?
Yes. And it's just not in here.
I'm going to let Ms. Tyler figure that one out later. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
We're approving the request to, LSC request to rezone 12.58 acres on Nelson Mountain Road owned by Angie Rudisell from RA Residential Agriculture to R20 Residential Tax Record, hashtag 10519, comma 3144. Is that what, I think that's what.
We have a motion by Commissioner Shudo, a second by Commissioner Furr. A lot of confusion for Clerk Tyler. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Allman.
I will vote no. Septic tank lots should remain at 30,000 square feet.
Noted, sir. All in favor, please say aye.
Did I get a second? Did someone second that?
You got a second?
Yes, sir, you did.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1. Sorry? Oh, I apologize. Motion passes 5-2. I did not hear you, Commissioner Worthing. Next item on the agenda, Bob Rimsberg, you just have the floor tonight, sir.
We had a
It's your
lot of
properties.
items for tonight, so I apologize for that, but
Don't make this one as confusing as the last one.
we'll try not. This is a little different in that this is a conditional rezoning request, so this one did come with a list of conditions. So it's not a rezoning from RA to R20 or something like that. It's from RA to a conditional use district. This is for Venture and Property Experts LLC, 16.9 acre parcel on Cole Road, just outside of Stanfield. The purpose of the rezoning is to allow the property to divide it into 12 lots and to set the conditions, as I mentioned, on the quality of the development. Under current subdivision rules, developer is unable to develop this property in its entirety at one time and meet something we have in the zoning ordinance called construction criteria points, which are required for each major subdivision. Mr. Burleson's proposed subdivision could meet those points. So in this case, we needed to come up with another plan, and so it was determined that certain conditions could be set that would meet the intent of the ordinance by creating quality homes on lots that are at least 0.8 acres in size. And if you can see, I'm sure you have a small map in front of you, all the lots proposed actually are over 1 acre. The list of conditions which have been agreed upon should be in your packet. Homes will be at least 2,100 square feet, 2-car attached garages, driveways with concrete parking pads. The advantage of the conditional zoning for the county is that there are several design standards established in the conditions which will guarantee that the homes built will be of a good quality and style. The company has proposed that, and they are the builders as well, house prices in the $450,000 and up range. Minimum grading is required for the project. Most trees, which are kind of on the rear of the lot, at least little ways, will be preserved by the developer. DOT is requiring shared driveway access. So you have 12 homes, you have 6 driveways. The area around the property currently is zoned RA, either by Stanley County or by the town of Stanfield. Although several housing developments are located within a 1 mile radius, some of those are zoned R20, just as we've been talking about. Stanfield's ETJ begins just west of this property. While water and sewer are along NC 200 and Big Lick Road, the proposed lots are large enough to support both well and septic for each home. Located in the West Stanley Fire District and, of course, the Stanfield School District, about 700 vehicles per day on Coyle Road, so a fairly busy rural road, back in 2016. So a little bit dated, but that's the information we have. Parcel is located in a growth area, clearly, actually kind of in the middle of a growth area per the 2010 Stanley County Land Use Plan. Since this is a residential use and is located in a growth area, the proposal is consistent with the Land Use Plan. Planning Board considered this at their January 10th meeting. There were several members of the Coyle Road community present, and they expressed their concerns about changes caused by the development. Primary concerns raised were dealing with water runoff, traffic, and the speed of traffic on Coyle Road, and of course, a change to the community. Staff explained that the property could be developed as a minor subdivision, but that's 3 lots per year with no conditions. And of course, in the RA district, as we just mentioned, could allow for manufactured homes or homes of any size or building materials. Conditions presented were more restrictive than the general requirements in the district and were seen as a guarantee of a quality development. With the addition of the requirement concerning water runoff, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezoning request with conditions by the Board of Commissioners. The reason for recommending approval was because the project is located in a growth area and with all the conditions being met would comply with the zoning ordinance and be consistent with the land use plan. The list of the conditions was agreed to and reviewed to and agreed to by both the Planning Board and the developer. As conditional rezoning, Board of Commissioners may add, subtract, or amend to that list as long as the developer agrees. Once approved by the board, this list of conditions is assigned to this parcel and will apply to all future development on these lots. And I mention that because it's been raised a couple of times about, well, what if the developer, I don't know, goes belly up and suddenly walks away from the project? Well, the conditions stay with that property no matter what. So once you rezone this with a conditional use, the only way to change those conditions would go be back before the Planning Board and back before this board to amend those conditions. So as a conditions, those conditions go with the property. So I don't know, if there are any questions, I'd be glad to address the project on Coyle Road. I'm sorry the pictures aren't working so you can see the design, but hopefully you've got the pictures there in your packet as commissioners. But if you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to address those.
Thank you, Mr. Remsburg. As a rezoning, this too is going to have a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open. I'll guess by the fact that you're standing, you are here to speak for or against, so come on up. Please give us your name and...
Yeah, Dana Wise, and without the mic, I apologize in advance. I coach girls volleyball, and I know my voice goes about this far, so. But I am the owner of the Venture 8 Property Experts, and just a little more details on the property, and I'm assuming you have this map in your packet. So we've had soil scientists come out there, and we have reasonable certainty that we should be able to get to 12 lots out of that. We don't have the official county perk tests and things like that done just because we wanted to get the lots all laid out. But we did have the soil scientists come in to say, I think it's reasonable to be able to get the 12 lots out of this. All of our lots are a minimum of an acre in here, going up to 2.5 acres. So we want to try to preserve the area as much as possible. If it turns out that once we get our official perk tests that we can only get 10 lots, we don't necessarily plan to just give the adjacent lots more property. We plan on giving the whole property. We'll re-stripe out the property so that everyone has more property in there instead of just the 2 adjoining. And I think if we just did the 2 adjoining ones on this property, it would just look kind of odd that, You have some that are bigger and some that are not. If you notice also, we have roughly 1,300 square feet of road frontage there. We wanted to keep the lots as wide as possible. We want as much room between the homes as possible. So that we have the lot sizes at the front at about 110 feet to give us those 12 lots across the front. So our plan is to have houses that are between 50 and 70 feet wide, which should keep about 60 to 70 feet between homes as well, assuming we don't have to go to 10 lots because of perking. This, I don't know if you have these in there or not, but these are I guess, kind of the type of homes that we're looking at. I would have the presentation up, but obviously that's not working. But we're looking at the modern farmhouse style homes, story and a half and 2-story homes, but we want them to be good quality, and like Bob mentioned as well, that if market conditions continue and prices of materials keep going up as well, we'll probably be in that $450,000 to $500,000 range for these homes. So, thank you for your time, and we appreciate it.
Mr. White, I'm sure our guys may have some questions. Does anybody have anything for him now?
Mr. Chair,
Question on?
quick question for you. Do you guys have an HOA?
No, we don't. But we do have the restrictions on the zoning, which somewhat covers that, but no HOA.
Anything else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak for or against this development? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, discussion?
I'm just glad to see that the lots are acre plus, which will be subject to.
And I personally, I don't have a personal love of HOAs, but I do love how you, I do like how you word the conditional permit to kind of maintain some decorum without having to go that route.
Mr. Chairman, I think, honestly, I think everything we do in the county should be conditional. Planning boards and counties do not have the right to do a design feature on the houses or the garages replaced. Several years ago, the Senate passed a bill, Senate Bill 25, that took away that from planning boards and stuff. So if you look at these conditions, if you read these conditions, again, it gives us some leeway on what to ask for. Exterior homes shall be limited to the following: vinyl, fiber, stone, stucco, brick. So they have to have that in there. They're going to put 2 trees, minimum of 1.5 inch caliber. A 2-car garage that's attached. So if you read these conditions, that's a lot of conditions from houses. Actually, I like these. The one thing I really wasn't crazy about, and then I've sort of got used to it now, if you look on the map, the driveways, they'll have shared driveways. Yeah. That's a DOT thing. They don't have anything, mail carriers don't want to go down through there and stop 12 different times. So that's the reason you have the shared driveway. Again, I wish everything we did was conditional. The fact that, yes, they could subdivide it and build 3 houses a year, you have no authority or say-so in what those 3 houses would look like, what the materials of those houses are. And then again, like Bob said, in RA, I believe you could do, in that amount of acreage, you could do 24 mobile home lots?
Probably with a road addition, but yes.
Right. So, again, that's the reason I like conditional, and I wish everything came to us conditional.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the request by Venture and Property Experts LLC to change the zoning of a 16.9 acre tract on Coyle Road from RA Residential Agriculture to RA Coyle Road Conditional District. This property is located in a designated growth area, and the conditional district places developmental restrictions on the property which require a higher quality of development than would normally be required by the current zoning requirements.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Shudo. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Eford. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda, the ZA 2103 text amendment. Ms. Bailey. Ma'am, considering the hour, I'm just going to say we can read it, run through it.
I'm sorry?
We can all read, just run through it.
Okay, I'll do a quick snippet. Yeah. ZA 22-03 is just a text amendment. 160D was something that we modified to our zoning ordinance back last year. This is just going to comply with that and just eliminate some criminal penalties that we currently have in our zoning ordinance and our subdivision ordinance.
And the short answer to that is we're no longer allowed to do criminal penalties in zoning ordinances. They can just be civil.
Right. It still applies to minimum housing, but not zoning and
We're
subdivision.
just changing this because the rule book that governs this changes it.
Correct.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Ms. Bailey? I'll seek a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve as text.
Please, thank you for correcting me. I did not.
For both the zoning ordinance and the subdivision ordinance.
Hold on, Commissioner Lawhon. This does require a public hearing.
It does.
It does.
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry about that. I called for it. I would like to have the third public hearing of the night. Is there anyone here that would like to speak for or against the changing of this text amendment? Okay, hearing none. Public hearing is closed. You were saying?
I make a motion to approve the text amendment for both the zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance, which removes language permitting criminal penalties for enforcement of these ordinances.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawhon. We have a motion from Commissioner Lawhon. We have a second? A second from Commissioner Furr. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Mr. Swearingen. Tim Swearingen. Yes. I was like, wait, what? I was like, you already talked twice tonight. No.
Chairman,
Different Swearingen.
Chairman Jordan and board, if I could speak like a Yankee auctioneer, I would. But,
if you talk long enough, the sheriff shows up.
You have before you an ordinance declaring the property at excuse me, at 2713 US 52 South to be unfit for human habitation in the current condition. Having received a complaint and signed complaint from the fire marshal and one also from the chief building inspector per our ordinance, a hearing before the housing inspector was held after fact-gathering evidence was done. I'd like to thank the sheriff and his staff for assisting me in the inspections and carrying out inspection warrants on this property. But on July the 13th of 2021, the hearing was held. Findings of facts were established in the case. Order of the housing inspector was on or before October the 13th, 2021. The property was to be vacated, closed, and remain closed until the property was either brought up to code or demolished and removed. Since that time, and up until today, I had heard nothing else from the owners of the property. In the early stages of the case, they did resolve some of the illegal, or zoning violations that were on the property. But as far as the housing code situation, nothing has been done pursuant to General Statute 160D, Article 12. Ample time has been given to the owner to bring the property into compliance. He has failed to do so. So I want to present this ordinance for your approval. If the property is not brought to code by March the 7th, then the ordinance would allow me to, or actually instruct me to carry out the order to demolish and remove and clear the property. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the sheriff has some comments concerning the.
You said when did you start to notify the land owner that these need to be done?
Okay, we received the first complaint on May the 10th of 2021. We inspected the properties on the 11th. Well, we didn't do a full investigation on the 11th. We did go out and look and saw that there was
How
probably
long since you told him what needed to get fixed?
That was on July the 13th.
Okay. You've not heard anything back?
Not until today.
No
I
phone
did talk
calls,
to the
no
owner
emails,
today.
No showing up, no banging on your door, nothing?
No.
Okay. Wait, Sheriff.
Just to add to it, we've pulled the calls for service, and over the last 18 to 24 months, there's been 134 calls for service. We have executed 3 criminal search warrants for either stolen property or the sale or maintaining of illegal controlled substances. Correct me if I'm wrong, you told me you've executed 5 administrative search warrants?
Yes.
During this time. Needless to say, the occupants before it was closed, it was a thorn in our side. So we were very eager to work together to get this problem resolved.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Mr. Green.
One note too, the owner did agree to, by summary ejectment, have the squatters that were there at the time, he did have them removed by the court. So the property is vacant at this time.
Is this the old motel?
The old Mabry's Motel.
Right. Marbury.
Marbury, yeah.
52 down below where 52, the old 52 come together?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Just past it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This too requires a public hearing. If you gentlemen will just stand by a minute. Hereby declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone that would like to come up and speak for or against this matter? And I believe Mr. Kennedy, there you are. This is your turn, sir. Aren't you glad you waited?
Yes, sir.
You missed all that fun stuff.
Again, good evening, everybody. Yes, sir. I am the new contractor that the owner has just hired. The old contractor that the owner hired, he blew, according to the owner, he blew his knee and also had to have surgery and went through COVID issues, so he's not back to work yet. But he started working on it, and these things happened to him. So, and the owner is out of the country. He's taking care of his parents in India. So he contacted me last week, and I came and I looked at it, and he didn't even know that there was a hearing going on until one of his people went over there and checked in the mail and found out that there was a hearing about this situation. According to him, he thought the contractor had done a whole lot, and come to find out he has not done anything. They started working on it. They demoed 2 units and cleaned the yard a little bit, and this thing happened to him. So now we've come in we're going to pull a permit if we are given the chance to pull a permit and get started, put people on it, and get this situation resolved. So if we can be given a little more time, we can get this thing done. But possibly we could pull a permit this week, or latest by next week, we should be able to pull a permit through the county.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else that would like to speak for or against? Hearing none. Oh, wait. Pardon me. I didn't see you folks. Come on up.
Not as fast as it used to be.
Just introduce yourselves and then.
I will. I'm Ellen Steele Mabry. I am a lifetime resident of the neighborhood. I own 2 century farms in the neighborhood, which means they've been in my family for over 100 years. I am adjoining landowners to the front and the back and surround this land. We go by this land multiple times between our 2 farms. Our residents are at 20831, which is one of the farms, the other one at 20662, US Highway 52 South. We have put up with this nuisance for years. I've known the previous landowners, nothing of this 1.26 acres of land. Nothing has been done. It is an eyesore. It is a crime wave, if you've already heard. I mean, you don't even know half of it. It's fallen down. It's not been taken care of for years. It needs to be destroyed. I do not think because of farming previously, the land right adjacent to it and ours across the road would not perk for a building. We've had nothing. We've had everything, as you know already, from drug dealings, stolen stuff, rapists, sex offenders there, and not to mention, which I'm not lying about, a lady high on drugs walking across the soybean field to neighbor's house, going skinny dipping in the pool, then stealing his Corvette, driving to Albemarle to be caught in front of the Honda place. Now, nobody can make that one up. We need this place. The owner previously I've talked to what now?
I can tell by the sheriff's expression, you're not exaggerating, ma'am.
No, I'm not. I'm not lying. It's like the joke. But that owner's not here tonight. He wanted to be, but I wanted, I'm here to represent our neighborhood. We also have a few more here, but we've been fighting this place for years. It's not safe. We've got kids in the neighborhood, and with what all we've had, the place floods. It's below road level. It's rotten. The sewage is leaking into the creek that goes to our cow pasture behind there. We aren't happy campers with it. This guy's had it over a year. I think he bought something. He was not buyer beware when he bought it, did not check into it, and we have had a time. We would love to see it gone and appreciate anything you could do to help improve our community. And if you go down 52, you know what it looks like. Thank you. You gonna say that?
Anyone else that would like to speak for or against? Good evening, sir.
My name is Sudhir. I'm representing Mohit Khan, the owner of the property. Good evening, everyone. He has asked me, unfortunately, Mohit's father, he got infected with COVID. He's an aged person, and he went back to India. And before he was leaving to India, he has been asked to take care of fix all the things by October 13th. Before that, up to my knowledge, he has given this contract to a contractor, and he has a knee issue, and he got infected with COVID. He has been following up with that, and he went back to India, and he asked me to go and see what's progress of the property. He's been trying to contact the contractor. There was no response from the contractor. He personally requested me to go and see the property. I was there this morning, and what I saw was what are the stuff inside the houses that has been taken out, and we had a dumpster over there, and some of the trash inside the house has been taken out, and he demolished everything inside the house, and he started remodeling the whole thing, and then he got affected with COVID, and he was unable to do that. We've been Mohit was been following him with the progress, but there was no response, and that's the reason he hired the new general contractor. And when we saw there was a bed in one house, we thought someone was using that. I took a handyman and changed the locks and screwed all the windows so that no one can enter the property and use it. And I feel sad this has been going on. Even Mohit, when Mohit bought this, there was a violation for burning the trash. And he was then in India, back in India last year. And he rushed back and he came here, and we had to file the paperwork for the evictions. And with the help of Sharif, I was with Mohit at the time of evictions. With the help of Sharif, we evicted all the tenants, problem causing tenants. Everyone has been evicted, no one are living there. Nothing is being sold over there. But the only thing is, due to the COVID issue and the knee issue of the contractor, things have been delayed. And Mohit asked me to convey that there'll be, we hired a new contractor and there'll be quick progress, and we'll be updating the progress timely to Tim Swearingen. And this is my part of conveying from Mohit. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Quick question for you.
Sure.
All this stuff's been going on all these months. And y'all just hired a new contractor today?
No. There was a contractor who has given the work after the eviction. As soon as we got evicted, the people, the contractor has taken, has been given this purchase order. I mean, the work to be taken care of. And he took out all there were many things inside the house, there was a car mechanic, there were engines inside the house. And the worst thing is there was a dead animal in one of the unit. And this contractor, he took out all the stuff which is inside the units. Everything inside the units he has taken out so that he could remodel. He demolished all the flooring, and he taken out everything. What he wanted to remodel everything and clean the outside trash. And then there is no response from that contractor from then on. There's a reason, there was no progress from the previous contractor. He asked me to go and look at it. Today I was here in Albemarle. From this morning, I'm here in Albemarle from 10 a.m. I met Tim Swearingen over there, and he said we had a court hearing. We didn't know, Mohit didn't know there was a court hearing. Luckily, I was there, and Swearingen said one of you should represent the court this evening. We were fortunate to be here,
Has anyone communicated with Mr. Swearingen?
No, sir, we didn't know. We were in a, Mohit was in a point, he was in a view that work was being done. Why? Because he has shared the pictures of first dumpster taken out, and then Mohit was dealing with his father's illness. His uncle has passed away, and he thought of going back then. He couldn't go due to a few reasons, and now his father is ill. There's a reason he went back. He needed to go back.
What's been going on since July?
After that, first when in the month of July, after that we started the eviction process. Mohit was here for the hearing, and it was in the favor of Mohit to evict all the tenants. We took them out in the month of September, if I'm not wrong. Then in the same month of September, a general contractor has been hired, and he has been asked to do the work. He has been paid, but no work has been done due to his illness and knee issues. And he was not aware what amount of work has been done. The previous contractor, he was telling he was getting the lumbers and everything. Work is he's ready to do the work once he's once he gets out of the COVID.
Is the new contractor
Kennedy.
back?
Yes.
Is he a licensed contractor?
Yes, he is.
What kind of license do you hold?
Unlimited, both commercial and residential.
I didn't hear you.
Building unlimited, both commercial and residential.
With the state of North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
And how's that listed, sir?
Master Builders, Inc.
Master Builders.
Yes.
What's your limit?
Unlimited.
Unlimited.
Yes, sir. And I can give you the license number too.
Okay.
74185. 185. Yes, sir.
Any more questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here?
I do have a question.
Sir.
How much of an extension are you asking for, or what's the,
We need, for,
are you asking for an extension? Is that what they're,
Yep.
yes,
Yes, we do.
for like 3 months.
is this a question to County Manager Lucas, or, what have we done in the past with requests for people to extend? I think the one guy missed, we didn't, or how many, have we come across this before?
I know we had a mobile home park at one point in time, and I know the board allowed some grace there and maybe an extra 30 days, and nothing happened during that time period, and so we ended up doing the order to demolish those mobile homes. So from a, you know, it certainly, this board has discretion and the autonomy to do what it wants. It can take the action tonight with the 30 days that they would typically have per the statute, but you all could, you know, afford them additional time, and that's completely your call. So you have, we did allow, I think we added I think you allowed an additional 30 days, if I remember right, Tim, on the mobile homes, and it was 60 days. And we brought it right back to you 60 days later.
Like I say, the order was issued on the 13th of July. I gave 90 days to show some progress. There has been some stuff taken out of each of the dwelling units and thrown on the ground behind and in front of the building. There were some junk cars, which was a separate issue. That's a zoning issue. They were removed from the property. The demolition that has taken place thus far to tear out rotten, decayed trash and other things, there was no demo permit drawn for those actions. Since that's been done, there's no other permits been issued or applied for, so. You know, if they can, I have no problem with giving them an extension of time if that's what the board decides. But in 30 days, they need to show some progress, or, you know, I mean, I don't mind coming back to the board, you know, and asking for an extension based on, you know, they've got permits, they've done this. You know, I don't mind, you know, letting you guys direct me in taking some, you know,
Let me ask
extra
a question.
time.
Sheriff Crisco,
Yes.
when was your last call for service at this location? I'm not asking for precise numbers, just give me best of your recollection.
I'm looking to see if this gives me a date. It doesn't. It just gives me,
To give you to put you into my question here, what I'm trying to picture in my head is, it sounds like from what I can read here, I mean, it was a drug den, it's been every kind of crime been possible. Everything is apparently falling down except the roof. That's not mentioned, but everything else is. Did all of a sudden crime at this place just quit back in July and it become a haven of the community, or is it continuing on now just as bad as it was?
oh, no. Since all the eviction notices were served, after, do you remember when that last search warrant was done?
If I'm not mistaken, it was around, gosh, I think it was August 15th, 16th, somewhere in that time frame. I think since then, the incident that Ms. Mabry spoke of with the lady showing her stuff, so to speak, that was after that, so they were called for
Just to be
that.
clear, the naked drug-using Corvette Joyrider was after that.
Right.
It was.
And I think there was one squatter that was still in there a couple of weeks after
There was.
the ejectment, and they were escorted away. So probably Labor Day timeframe was probably the last time anybody was in the house trying to habitate it.
What kind of remodeling are you gonna do, and what's it gonna be used for?
Yeah, I think he told me he's gonna use it for apartments. But we're gonna gut the entire inside and do plumbing, electrical, HVAC, complete renovation on the inside. And then the outside, we're gonna fix all the rotten wood and everything else and paint it and clean the yard. Yeah, as far as the yard goes, our dumpster has already been ordered for it to be show up tomorrow to start picking everything up out of there.
Totally, there are 5 units, officer, and 2 units are completely fine, and which someone can go in and stay there. There's a reason I took the handyman today this morning. I changed all the locks, and we have put the screws so that they can't open the doors from outside or any way. All the windows have been boarded up, and the remaining 3 units need to be remodeled, the whole thing. 2 units are good, and if we clean them, they are habitable.
Any further questions from commissioners?
Besides walking up there, I've been keeping record on my phone, and the last arrest record was 9/21/21.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Perk?
I know you said you was planning on remodeling, putting it in as far as apartments, but what kind of apartments are you talking about for the day, night, week, month? How do you plan on renting them? Hour. I pass by 52 all the time, and I've seen this for the last year. And I've been wondering myself what's been going on. And I've seen cars tore apart out there. I've seen the sheriff's departments there many times. But my concern is, what are you gonna be doing? What you gonna be putting back? I mean,
I didn't discuss this with Mohit, he's the owner. I'm not sure, I'm not like... But the only thing he's concerned today was like, he asked me to order dumpster right away and get people tomorrow on the job, as many as people. We already ordered the dumpster, it will be there tomorrow. They said like around 12 p.m. They're gonna place the dumpster at the site, and people will be there to take out the trash tomorrow.
As a side note, the property is currently zoned highway business. It was zoned that back in, I believe, 84 or 85 when the county extended zoning out in that area. At that time, it was a motel. It being converted to apartments, but it has remained highway business rather than R8. It would need to be rezoned with a significant amount of repairs that's going to be needed.
It would need to be rezoned to 2022, 2023 standards, not 1987 standards.
Right.
In your professional opinion, is that even possible with the structure that exists?
No.
Would that require a sprinkler system?
I believe so. From talking with the fire marshal, I believe it will require.
Having seen that property and having seen this, and
Right.
I almost feel like we'd be doing a favor to knock it down if he did want to build apartments back.
The condition that the floor joist and other major structural members of the property are deteriorated to the point, really, they would be better off to knock it down and start over.
I think we've discussed this one to death.
Yes.
I'm going to ask for a motion from the board. Oh, you're right. I do have to close the public hearing.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
I'm Joe Mabry. I'm Ellen Mabry's worst half. And
Not the boss, though.
that's what I'm saying. Not the boss. But when I've seen apparatus to remove the junk was up there, it was only one day, or something like it. And his same crap stayed there, but the machine was gone. So, something may be telling y'all that something's being done. Well, it's not working.
I understand, sir.
Not working a bit, and all that. And anytime we have to go by post 5 to get to a field that we own, and somebody come and stop, want to know if I want any drugs. And I was how bad it was, and it, you know, this thing about getting and they did have an apparatus to remove stuff, but they didn't move nothing, and the apparatus got gone. So that ain't putting it across.
I understand, sir.
So, you know, it is time to get off the pot. It's the old saying.
Thank you, Mr. Mabry.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just one last question I have.
You got another man here. Okay.
Was the letter sent to them certified?
All our mailings per minimum housing are sent, one copy regular first-class mail and one copy certified. The order of the housing inspector and findings of fact document was hand-delivered to Mr. Muhammad the day of or actually the day after the hearing. But all other mails have been, in fact, the notice of this particular hearing was sent to the owner and the same fashion. I haven't received the regular mail back. I did receive the green receipt card back, and it was delivered to someone at his office.
Thank you, Mr. Swearingen. I'm going to move this meeting along. We have got to get moving. We're not going to be here all night. Sir, do you have something you want to share?
Just one quick thing.
Go for it.
January 20th, 4 a.m., there were people in there with lights on in that place. I seen it. I called the captain of the highway. And said, hey, can you just check it out? I don't know what happened from that, but there was people there then, this year, January 20th.
What was your name, sir?
Curtis Swearingen. There's
Appreciate
another
it.
Swearingen. But, also, like I said, same deal with the drugs and stuff. There, people were walking them down the street that night. That's what I heard when I woke up in the place. And if the owner's been that concerned about fixing the place, why has he not followed through between now and July? So,
I appreciate it, sir. Yeah. I'm going to call the public hearing closed.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
I wish somebody would.
Make a motion to adopt the ordinance declaring the structure unfit for human habitation and direct the owner to demolish and remove the structure and authorize the housing inspector to remove the structure if the owner fails to comply.
We have a motion on the floor by Vice Chairman Almond. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Alhan. All in favor? Yeah, it's not required. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
7-0, but I think we're supposed to have discussion, I think. If you want to take a vote, that's okay.
Motion passes 7-0. Do you have any final comments on that topic? Moving on. Item number, I don't even know anymore. The Town of Norwood Recreational Grant Request.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Town of Norwood also had a meeting this evening, so they are not present to make their presentation for a matching grant request of $10,000 to help offset the cost of a multi-purpose court area. They want to repave that area. The town of Norwood has a general fund balance of $2.3 million, which represents about 85% of their budgeted expenditures in 21-22. And they're asking for a $10,000 grant request. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, County Manager. We have any questions for County Manager Lucas? Vice Chairman?
I'd like to make a motion
We have a motion on the table to approve the request. Do we have a second? Any discussion on it? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda, also County Manager Lucas, resolution to provide local school boards with school calendar flexibility. That was the item that the
Yes, sir.
school
That's what
superintendent
Dr. Dennis
on
spoke to.
earlier.
Yes, sir. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but essentially they're just looking for our support and their flexibility with the, in their resolution to the state to get a local bill, like local legislation introduced that would allow them flexibility in their school calendar.
I'm going to comment on this just for a moment for the sake of the board's clarity and for the record, if anybody for some reason on YouTube is still listening. The reasons the superintendent brought to my attention that I thought had merit were primarily, if we don't do this, it pushes the school system it pushes the school calendar so far into the end of the year that students go home for 2.5 weeks for Christmas, then come back and take exams, which is pretty hard on their grades. It's just not an ideal environment. By the same token, students that would like to go on to another educational platform like SCC or community college in January don't get to do that. They lose an entire semester. So, well, I'll leave my opinion out of it, but that's the reasons that he brought to my attention. Thank you, County Manager Lucas. Does anybody have any questions or discussion on it?
My one discussion point is that what I like about this, the option, I always thought it was ridiculous to start school at August 29th when they make sports start August the 5th. So pretty much all your high school and middle or whenever they have a start, they have to start like 3 weeks before school starts or whatever. So they're going to be here anyway. Might as well put them in school and do it all together.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think it helps their gates too. If school's in session, more kids come to the games. So financially, it actually probably is more beneficial to them to have school start earlier that align with the school, with the athletic calendar.
Vice Chairman Allman.
Motion to approve the presented resolution.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Vice Chairman Allman, second by Commissioner Shudo. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. You have all had plenty of time to read the consent agenda.
Second.
Approved by Commissioner Lawhon, second by Commissioner Furr. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Commissioner comments. I don't remember where I started last time. I'm going that way. Commissioner Furr. On behalf of my dinner, thank you. Commissioner Lawhon.
Go bingo!
Commissioner Allman. Commissioner Shudo.
Just real quick, I'm a Atrium Health vaccine ambassador, and information from Atrium Health that we got this week in December. If you were not vaccinated, you were 12 to 17, you're 8 times more likely to end up in the hospital. 18 to 49-year-olds, 12 times more likely to be in the hospital. 50 to 64, 17 times more likely to be in the hospital. And 65 plus, 17 times more to be in the hospital. And we had 7 deaths this month so far with COVID. And also last month we had, I think it was 26 deaths due to COVID in Stanley County, which was the second most amount of deaths we've had since the pandemic began. And last thing for my fellow commissioners, we covered a lot tonight. I think we had very good discussions, and we all didn't vote alike, but that's all right. That's what we do, and great job.
Commissioner Barbie. Commissioner Eford.
I'm gonna be like Peter real quick. Cell Tower Committee, we met twice. We threw some input on, Mr. Barbie, Jordan, myself, along with Mr. Fesselman, Mr. Schmidt, and Mr. Williams from the planning board. We throw some things out that we want to see, but we are having public input, tomorrow night at 6:30 at Oakburg Community Building, February 22nd at Millingport, the fire department. March 8th, it's going to be at the Stanley County Airport. March 22nd at Center Rule in Norwood. And our last one will be April 12th here at the Commons. We do wish for your public input. That's what we want to do. And last thing, February the 25th, there's going to be a retirement celebration for Brian Simpson, Emergency Services Director. Brian was here earlier, but I guess he got tired of waiting. But it's gonna be here at the Commons from 2 to 5, so I wish Brian the best.
You took all my cool things I had to say tonight. Thank you, Commissioners. I did say that I would specifically bring up the telecom conversation, but you beat me to it. But yes, no, you're absolutely right. I'm publishing on my Facebook, my campaign Facebook. I know you're putting it on Facebook. We are publishing it as many places as we can. We really want people to come, and I want to stress that people feel often, and I felt this way myself when I sat on that side of that podium, that government doesn't listen to them. Government doesn't take their requests seriously. They don't ask them, they just do things. Well, this is the first committee that I've been on or been part of since I came on the board. It's actively going out there trying to get your opinion, trying to get people to be involved. So even if you don't necessarily care about telecommunications towers, come out and see the process and see what's involved. Ask questions. You may have an idea we haven't thought of. I promise there are more smart people than the 6 of us that sit in that room. I want to insert a T.J. Smith joke here, but I'm not, because he's not here to appreciate it. So come out to that meeting. The first one is tomorrow night, February 8th, in Oakborough at 6:30. There'll be handouts there for you to see what our plans are. You can ask us questions. You can give us ideas. Next thing on the Super Bowl, go Bengals. So my wife is going to be forced to vote for pull for the Rams this year, because I have to pull for the team she's not pulling for. So this year I'm calling the Bengals, so she has to play for the Rams. We had one minor change. Commissioner Almond?
Yes, sir. We need to amend, I need to amend my motion on item number 13.
Okay, you need to amend your motion.
Yes, sir. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance declaring the structure unfit for human habitation and directing the owner to demolish and remove the structure by March 7th, and authorizing the housing inspector to remove the structure if the owner fails to comply.
Attorney Furr, you just made that motion. Do we need to make a motion to amend his previous one, or do we just, or will that motion he just made suffice?
You'll give me 1 minute, please.
I make a motion. You don't make any more motions. You didn't eat the whole thing? Y'all hold it. Let County Attorney first pick up.
I think it would be proper, Mr. Chairman, if anybody who voted in favor of the ordinance, I believe it was unanimous, if anybody would like to make a motion to reconsider, and
Then Commissioner Almond makes his motion.
it's inserted.
Can I get a motion to reconsider Zach's previous motion?
So good, sir.
Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Furr. All in favor? Any opposed? We have a motion to reconsider. That reopens it. Now he may make a motion to amend his motion, or he may just make the amended motion.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance declaring the structure unfit for human habitation, directing the owner to demolish and remove the structure by March 7th, and authorizing the housing inspector to remove the structure if the owner fails to comply.
We have a motion on the floor. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Eford. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes again, 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
No.
I'll entertain that all day long. We have a second?
Recess.
Oh, good. Good catch.
We need to recess.
Good
Oh,
catch.
that was you. I don't have to make a motion for that, do I?
Well, actually, I think I have to do that. Is that in the agenda? Do you have it handy? Let me just have it right there. Yes, we are actually not going to adjourn this meeting tonight. We're going to recess this meeting until Friday, February the 18th at 9 a.m. for the board's annual planning retreat at Juneberry Ridge. So if you feel like hearing another all-day commissioner meeting, feel free to attend. Just for the record, there will not be lots of public comments at that one. That's it. We stand in recess.